Title: Simple Steps to Build Unshakable Confidence by AI Audiobooks Empire. Introduction. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately wondered whether you belonged there? Have you ever stayed silent even though you had something important to say? Have you ever looked at someone who seemed fearless and thought, "I wish I had that kind of confidence"? If you answered yes to any of those questions, you're far from alone. Confidence is one of those qualities that many people admire from a distance. We often assume it belongs only to successful entrepreneurs, inspiring speakers, talented performers, or naturally outgoing people. We watch them stand tall, speak clearly, and pursue ambitious goals, and we quietly tell ourselves, they were born that way. But here's something that might surprise you. Confidence is rarely the starting point. More often, it's the result. It's built through small decisions, uncomfortable moments, repeated practice, and countless times choosing to move forward even while feeling uncertain. The people who appear fearless usually aren't strangers to fear at all. They've simply learned not to let fear make their decisions. Think back to when you first learned something completely new. Perhaps it was riding a bicycle, speaking in front of a class, driving a car, or starting your first job. At the beginning, everything felt awkward. You questioned yourself constantly. Mistakes seemed unavoidable. Yet with time, repetition, and patience, what once felt impossible became familiar. Confidence works the very same way. It isn't a magical feeling that suddenly appears one morning. It's a relationship you build with yourself. It's the quiet belief that says, even if this is difficult, I'll figure it out. It's trusting yourself enough to keep going despite uncertainty. Imagine what your life could look like if self-doubt no longer made your biggest decisions. Imagine speaking with calm assurance, applying for opportunities without assuming you'll fail, starting conversations without overthinking every word, setting healthy boundaries without feeling guilty, trying new experiences instead of watching life from the sidelines. None of these changes require becoming a completely different person. They begin with simple steps, small actions, small victories, small promises you keep to yourself every day. Those tiny moments gradually reshape the way you see yourself. And once your view of yourself changes, everything else begins to change alongside it. Throughout this audiobook, we're going to explore those simple yet powerful steps together. Not through unrealistic promises or overnight transformations, but through practical lessons that anyone can apply. By the end of this journey, you'll understand that confidence isn't something you search for. It's something you build, one decision at a time, one challenge at a time, one courageous step at a time. So, wherever you're listening today, whether you're driving to work, taking a walk, relaxing at home, or simply looking for encouragement, I invite you to stay with me. This could be the beginning of one of the most important conversations you'll ever have. Because the person whose confidence matters most isn't the person standing beside you. It's the person you see every morning in the mirror. And that journey begins now. Welcome, and thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. Whether this is your very first visit or you've been listening for a while, we're truly grateful you're here. On this channel, we explore motivational and personal development audiobooks designed to help you grow one practical step at a time. Our goal isn't to overwhelm you with complicated theories or impossible standards. Instead, we focus on timeless lessons, meaningful stories, and simple actions that can make a lasting difference in everyday life. Today's audiobook is about one of the most valuable qualities anyone can develop: confidence. Not the kind that seeks attention or tries to impress others, but the quiet, steady confidence that helps you face challenges, recover from setbacks, and trust yourself through life's uncertainties. So get comfortable, take a deep breath, and let's begin this journey together. Confidence influences almost every area of life. It shapes the opportunities we pursue, the relationships we build, the conversations we have, the dreams we dare to chase. Yet for many people, confidence feels frustratingly out of reach. Perhaps you've questioned your abilities more times than you can count. Maybe you've compared yourself to others and concluded that you're simply not good enough. Or perhaps you've spent years waiting for the day you finally feel confident before taking action. The truth is, waiting rarely works. Confidence doesn't usually come before action. It grows because of action. Throughout this audiobook, we'll challenge many of the common myths surrounding confidence. You'll discover that confidence isn't about being perfect, always succeeding, or never feeling afraid. Instead, it's about learning to trust yourself, even when outcomes are uncertain. Together, we'll explore how your thoughts influence your self-image, why small daily promises matter more than grand resolutions, how resilience strengthens confidence, and why meaningful progress almost always begins outside your comfort zone. You'll hear relatable stories, practical examples, simple exercises, and thoughtful reflections designed to help you apply each lesson to your own life. Most importantly, you'll discover that confidence isn't reserved for a fortunate few. It's a skill. And like every skill, it can be developed. No matter where you're starting today, there is room to grow. There is room to become more courageous. There is room to become more resilient. And there is room to become someone who trusts themselves more deeply than ever before. So I encourage you to stay with me all the way to the end. Each chapter builds upon the one before it, creating a complete roadmap toward lasting confidence. Let's take the first step together. Chapter 1. Confidence begins with keeping promises to yourself. Chapter Introduction. If you ask 10 people what confidence looks like, you'll probably hear 10 different answers. Some will describe someone who speaks with authority. Others will picture a successful entrepreneur, a gifted athlete, or a charismatic leader. Many people assume confidence is something you can immediately recognize from the outside. But true confidence isn't built on appearances. In fact, some of the most confident people you'll ever meet are quiet. They don't need to be the loudest voice in the room. They don't constantly seek approval or attention. They simply trust themselves. So where does that trust come from? It begins much closer to home than most people realize. It begins with the promises you make to yourself. Think about any close friendship you've had. Trust didn't appear overnight. It developed because the other person consistently showed up. They kept their word. They were dependable. Over time, you learned that you could count on them. Now consider your relationship with yourself. How often have you promised yourself that tomorrow would be different? Tomorrow you'll wake up earlier. Tomorrow you'll start exercising. Tomorrow you'll stop procrastinating. Tomorrow you'll finally work on that dream you've been postponing. Tomorrow you'll become more disciplined. And then tomorrow arrives. Life gets busy. Motivation fades. Comfort wins. Another promise quietly disappears. It may seem insignificant in the moment, but something important happens every time this cycle repeats. Your subconscious begins keeping score. Every broken promise sends a subtle message. I can't rely on myself. Over weeks, months, and years, those messages accumulate. Eventually, they become your identity. You stop saying, I didn't follow through. Instead, you begin saying, I'm just not disciplined. I'm not confident. I'm not capable. But those labels were never facts. They were conclusions drawn from repeated experiences. The wonderful news is this. If repeated broken promises can weaken your confidence, repeated kept promises can rebuild it. That's where our journey begins. Not with huge life changes, not with dramatic transformations, with one promise, one small commitment, one action that proves to yourself, I am becoming someone I can trust. Today's chapter is about rebuilding that trust, one simple step at a time. Main lesson: the hidden foundation of confidence. Imagine you're building a house. Most people admire the roof, the windows, or the beautiful front door. Those are the parts everyone sees. But builders know something different. The most important part is hidden underground. The foundation. Without it, the entire structure becomes unstable. Confidence works exactly the same way. The visible parts, public speaking, leadership, social skills, or bold decisions, are built on an invisible foundation. Self-trust. Without self-trust, confidence becomes fragile. It depends on compliments, achievements, or other people's opinions. With self-trust, confidence becomes steady because it comes from within. And self-trust is earned, not through wishful thinking, through evidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you create another piece of evidence that says, I can depend on me. That evidence matters more than you might think. A simple story about two mornings. Imagine two people. Let's call them Emma and Daniel. On Sunday evening, both decide they'll wake up at 6 o'clock Monday morning. Emma sets her alarm. The alarm rings. She wants to stay in bed. She feels tired. She doesn't feel motivated. But she gets up anyway. Not because she's excited. Because she decided she would. Meanwhile, Daniel hears his alarm. He immediately thinks, I'll start tomorrow. He presses snooze. An hour later, he wakes up feeling disappointed. Neither decision changes their life overnight. But something invisible happens. Emma has strengthened trust in herself. Daniel has weakened it. Now imagine these same choices repeated hundreds of times over several years. Eventually, Emma doesn't simply believe she's disciplined. She has proof. Daniel doesn't merely think he lacks confidence. He has unintentionally gathered evidence supporting that belief. Confidence isn't built during extraordinary moments. It's built inside ordinary ones. Why small wins matter more than big goals. Many people believe confidence requires massive achievements. They think, I'll be confident once I lose 30 pounds. I'll be confident once I get promoted. I'll be confident once I earn more money. Those goals are perfectly fine, but confidence shouldn't wait for them. Imagine trying to climb a staircase by jumping directly to the 20th step. Most people would fall. Instead, we climb one step at a time. Confidence grows exactly like that. Small promises, small victories, small moments of integrity. Suppose you promise yourself to read 5 pages today. 5 pages. Not 50. You finish them. Tomorrow you do it again. After several weeks, reading becomes part of your identity. You no longer think, "I'm trying to become someone who reads." You think, "I'm a reader." Identity grows from repeated actions, not occasional inspiration. Motivation comes and goes. One of the biggest myths about confidence is that confident people always feel motivated. They don't. They simply understand something most people overlook. Feelings are temporary. Commitments are lasting. Imagine a farmer. Would a farmer refuse to water crops simply because they didn't feel inspired that morning? Of course not. The crops don't care about motivation. They need consistency. Your goals are no different. Some mornings you'll feel energized. Others you'll feel exhausted. Some days you'll feel optimistic. Others you'll doubt yourself. Confidence grows when your actions become stronger than your moods. That doesn't mean ignoring emotions. It means refusing to let temporary feelings permanently decide your future. The cost of constantly breaking promises. Let's look at another everyday example. Suppose your closest friend promised to meet you every Saturday. The first week they cancel. The second week they forget. The third week they're late. Eventually, your trust begins to fade. Now ask yourself a difficult question. How often have you treated yourself that way? How many dreams have been postponed? How many goals delayed? How many promises quietly abandoned? No one else may notice, but you notice. Your subconscious notices. That's why rebuilding confidence begins with rebuilding credibility within yourself. Fortunately, credibility doesn't require perfection. It requires consistency. A story of quiet transformation. Several years ago, a community center started offering evening fitness classes. One participant stood out, not because she was the strongest or fastest, but because she came every week. She wasn't particularly athletic. She often struggled through the workouts. Some evenings she arrived looking exhausted after work. She rarely spoke about her progress. She simply kept showing up. Months later, newer participants assumed she'd always been confident. They admired her discipline. What they never saw were the countless evenings she almost stayed home. The days when she questioned herself. The moments when progress felt painfully slow. Her confidence wasn't built in the gym. It was built in every decision to keep showing up. That's how confidence grows for all of us. Not through dramatic breakthroughs. Through quiet consistency. Stop waiting until you feel ready. Many people delay meaningful action because they're waiting for confidence to arrive first. But confidence rarely arrives before action. Imagine learning to swim. You could spend years reading books about swimming, watching videos, listening to experts. None of it replaces stepping into the water. The first time feels uncomfortable. The second feels slightly easier. The 10th feels familiar. Confidence follows experience. Action creates experience. Waiting creates regret. Every confident person has experienced uncertainty. The difference is they acted anyway. Build a reputation with yourself. Think of yourself as someone you're trying to impress, not with expensive possessions or dramatic accomplishments, but with reliability. Become someone who says, "I'll take a 10-minute walk." Then take it. "I'll drink more water today." Then do it. "I'll spend 15 minutes learning." Then begin. These tiny acts seem ordinary, but together they reshape identity. Eventually, you no longer wonder if you'll follow through. You expect yourself to. That's confidence. The power of one promise. If today's lesson could be summarized in one sentence, it would be this: every promise you keep becomes another brick in the foundation of your confidence. Don't underestimate small victories. They're never really small. They're teaching your mind who you are becoming. And over time, that identity becomes stronger than fear. Reflection. Before moving forward, take a quiet moment to think about these questions. What promise have you repeatedly made to yourself but never fully honored? How has breaking that promise affected the way you see yourself? If you consistently kept just one small commitment every day for the next 6 months, how different might your confidence become? And perhaps the most important question of all: what kind of relationship do you want to have with yourself 1 year from today? Remember, confidence isn't built by wishing for a different life. It's built by becoming someone you can rely on. Action step. Today's exercise is called the One Promise Challenge. Choose one promise that is so small you have almost no excuse not to keep it. Examples include: walk for 10 minutes, read 5 pages of a book, write 1 journal entry, drink a full glass of water after waking up, spend 15 minutes working on an important goal, practice 5 minutes of deep breathing. Write your promise down. Complete it today. Then repeat it tomorrow. Your goal isn't to impress anyone. Your goal is to prove to yourself that your word matters. Key takeaways. Confidence is built on self-trust, not outward appearance. Self-trust grows every time you keep a promise to yourself. Small, consistent actions matter more than occasional bursts of motivation. Confidence follows action, not the other way around. Becoming reliable to yourself creates lasting inner confidence. Inspirational closing. One day, people may look at you and say, "You seem so confident." What they won't see are the hundreds of quiet decisions that shaped the person standing before them. They won't see the mornings you got up when you wanted to stay in bed. The promises you honored when no one was watching. The small acts of courage that slowly transformed your identity. Confidence is rarely built under a spotlight. It's built in the quiet moments when you choose to become someone you can trust. Those moments begin today. Keeping promises to yourself creates a strong foundation, but confidence isn't shaped only by what you do. It's also influenced by the voice you hear more than any other, the one inside your own mind. In the next chapter, We'll explore how your inner dialogue can either strengthen your confidence or quietly undermine it. And you'll learn simple ways to transform self-criticism into self-belief. Chapter 2. The Voice That Shapes Your Confidence. Chapter Induction. Have you ever made one small mistake and immediately started criticizing yourself? Maybe you forgot someone's name and thought, "I'm so awkward." Perhaps you made an error at work and told yourself, "I always mess things up." Or maybe you looked in the mirror and focused only on what you wished you could change. What's remarkable is that these moments often happen so quickly that we barely notice them. The words appear almost automatically, like a familiar song playing in the background. Yet those quiet conversations with yourself have extraordinary power. Long before anyone else tells you what you're capable of, you've already been telling yourself a story. Sometimes that story says, "I can learn." Other times it whispers, "I'm not enough." The challenge is that your brain doesn't always distinguish between objective truth and repeated thoughts. If you hear the same message often enough, even if it's unfair or inaccurate, it begins to feel real. Imagine carrying around a pair of glasses with smudged lenses. After a while, you might assume the whole world is blurry, when in reality it's only your perspective that needs cleaning. Negative self-talk works in much the same way. It colors the way you interpret every success, every setback, and every opportunity. In this chapter, we're going to gently clean those lenses. You'll discover why your inner voice matters, where many of your limiting beliefs come from, and how to replace harsh self-judgment with a more truthful, supportive perspective. Because confidence isn't just built by the actions you take. It's also shaped by the conversations you have with yourself every single day. Main lesson: the most influential voice in your life. Think about how many conversations you have in a day. You might speak with family, co-workers, friends, or strangers. But there's one conversation that never stops. The one happening inside your own mind. From the moment you wake up until you fall asleep, your thoughts are commenting on your experiences. "I hope I do well today. That meeting could have gone better. I wonder what they think of me. Maybe I shouldn't even try." These thoughts often feel automatic, but they aren't meaningless. They become the soundtrack of your life. If the soundtrack is filled with encouragement, curiosity, and resilience, you'll approach challenges differently. If it's filled with criticism, doubt, and fear, even simple tasks can feel overwhelming. Imagine having a coach who followed you everywhere. If that coach constantly shouted, "You'll never get this right," you would eventually lose confidence, no matter how talented you were. Yet many people unknowingly become that coach to themselves. Where does self-doubt come from? Most babies aren't born believing they're not good enough. Young children often try new things with remarkable courage. They stumble, laugh, and try again. So where does self-doubt begin? Sometimes it comes from comparison. A child notices a classmate who learns faster or receives more praise. Sometimes it comes from criticism. A careless comment from a teacher, parent, or peer can linger far longer than anyone intended. Sometimes it comes from failure. A disappointing experience convinces us that we're incapable rather than simply inexperienced. And sometimes it comes from repeated disappointment, where hope slowly gives way to hesitation. Over time, These experiences can form beliefs like, I'm not smart enough. People won't take me seriously. I'll probably fail anyway. The important thing to remember is this. A belief is not necessarily a fact. It's often just a conclusion drawn from limited experiences. And conclusions can change. The story you keep telling yourself. Imagine two people applying for the same opportunity. Both are equally qualified. The first person thinks, this is a chance to learn. Even if I don't get it, I'll gain experience. The second person thinks, they're probably looking for someone better. I'll embarrass myself. Notice that the situation is identical. Only the story is different. That story influences how they prepare, how they present themselves, and how they recover if things don't go as planned. Confidence grows not because life becomes easier, but because your internal narrative becomes healthier. Ask yourself, what story have you been telling yourself lately? Is it helping you move forward or keeping you stuck? The difference between being honest and being harsh. Some people believe that criticizing themselves is a form of honesty. They say things like, I'm just being realistic. But honesty and harshness are not the same. Imagine a child learning to ride a bicycle. They fall. Would a wise mentor say, you're hopeless. You'll never learn? Of course not. A supportive mentor might say, that fall was part of learning. Let's try again. Now think about how you respond to your own mistakes. Do you offer yourself the same patience? Or do you speak to yourself in ways you would never speak to someone you care about? Confidence grows when your inner voice becomes both truthful and compassionate. Not because you ignore mistakes, but because you treat them as opportunities rather than verdicts. Rewriting the script. Changing your self-talk doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means replacing distorted thoughts with balanced ones. Instead of saying, I always fail, try, this didn't go the way I hoped, but I can learn from it. Instead of, I'm terrible at this, try, I'm still developing this skill. Instead of, everyone is judging me, try. Most people are focused on their own lives more than mine. Notice that these new thoughts aren't unrealistic. They're simply more accurate. They leave room for growth. A story about two presentations. Consider Maya, a young professional preparing for an important presentation. The week before, she couldn't stop thinking, what if I forget everything? What if they think I'm inexperienced? As the presentation approached, her anxiety grew. A mentor asked her a simple question. If your best friend were giving this presentation, what would you say to encourage them? Without hesitation, Maya replied, I'd tell them they've prepared well, that it's okay to be nervous, and that one imperfect moment doesn't define them. The mentor smiled. Why don't you deserve the same kindness? That question stayed with her. She still felt nervous during the presentation. She stumbled over one sentence. But instead of panicking, she remembered her new inner dialogue. Keep going. You've got this. She finished strong. Not because fear disappeared, because self-compassion gave her room to recover. Your brain listens to repetition. Think about learning a new language. You don't master it after hearing a phrase once. You improve through repetition. Your brain works similarly with self-belief. Every encouraging thought you repeat strengthens a healthier pathway. Every balanced perspective becomes easier to access over time. This doesn't happen overnight. But neither did years of self-criticism. Be patient with the process. You're not flipping a switch. You're building a habit. Speak to your future self. Imagine meeting yourself 1 year from now. A version of you who has grown stronger, wiser, and more confident. What advice would that future version give you today? Perhaps they would say, stop waiting for perfection. You're more capable than you realize. One mistake doesn't erase your progress. Keep showing up. Those words aren't fantasy. They're possibilities waiting to become your daily mindset. The quiet power of encouragement. We often underestimate how much encouragement matters. Think back to a time when someone believed in you before you believed in yourself. Maybe it was a teacher, a friend, a parent, a coach. Their words may have changed your direction. Now imagine becoming that encouraging voice for yourself. Not because you're pretending everything is easy, but because you're choosing to speak with wisdom instead of fear. Confidence flourishes in an environment of honest encouragement. And you have the ability to create that environment within your own mind. Reflection. Take a quiet moment and ask yourself, what is the most common criticism I repeat to myself? Where did that belief begin? Is it based on undeniable truth, or on old experiences that no longer define me? If I spoke to a close friend the way I sometimes speak to myself, how would they feel? And finally, what is one new sentence I want my inner voice to repeat from today onward? Action step. Today's exercise is called catch and replace. Throughout the day, notice one negative thought about yourself. Write it down. Then rewrite it into a balanced, encouraging statement. For example, negative thought. I'm terrible at speaking in meetings. Replacement. I'm still gaining confidence, and every meeting is another chance to improve. Repeat your new statement aloud 3 times. The goal isn't to convince yourself overnight. The goal is to begin changing the conversation. Key takeaways. Your inner dialogue shapes your confidence every day. Limiting beliefs often come from past experiences, not permanent truths. Honest self-reflection is healthier than harsh self-criticism. Replacing negative thoughts with balanced ones strengthens self-belief. Encouraging yourself is a skill that grows through consistent practice. Inspirational closing. The voice inside your mind will accompany you through every challenge, every opportunity, and every dream you pursue. You may not control every thought that appears, but you can choose which thoughts deserve your attention. Every time you replace criticism with encouragement, you plant another seed of confidence. And with enough care, those seeds grow into something remarkably strong, a quiet confidence that no longer depends on perfection, but on the steady belief that you can learn, adapt, and keep moving forward. Trusting yourself and speaking to yourself with kindness are powerful foundations. But confidence also grows when you stop measuring your worth against everyone else's journey. In the next chapter, we'll explore one of the greatest confidence killers, comparison, and discover how shifting your focus back to your own path can unlock a deeper, more lasting sense of self-belief. Chapter 3. Stop comparing your journey to everyone else. Chapter Introduction. Imagine you're hiking through a beautiful mountain trail. The path twists through forests, climbs steep hills, crosses small streams, and occasionally opens to breathtaking views. As you walk, you notice other hikers. One person seems far ahead of you. Another appears to move faster with less effort. Someone else has better equipment. Another seems completely relaxed while you're breathing heavily. Now imagine stopping your own journey every few minutes just to compare your progress with theirs. You would lose sight of the trail beneath your own feet. You might even miss the beauty surrounding you because your attention is fixed on someone else's path. This is exactly what comparison does to our confidence. It shifts our focus away from our own growth and towards someone else's highlight reel. In today's world, comparison has become easier than ever. With a few taps on a phone, we can scroll through thousands of carefully selected moments, career milestones, dream vacations, fitness transformations, happy relationships, and impressive achievements. What we rarely see are the doubts, setbacks, lonely nights, failed attempts, and quiet struggles behind those moments. We compare our everyday reality to someone else's edited highlights. It isn't a fair comparison. And yet, many people unknowingly let these comparisons determine how they feel about themselves. The truth is, confidence cannot grow in the shadow of constant comparison. It flourishes when you learn to measure yourself against who you were yesterday, not against who someone else appears to be today. In this chapter, we'll explore why comparison is so tempting, how it quietly steals your confidence, and how you can redirect your attention toward meaningful personal growth. Because your life was never meant to be a copy of someone else's. It was meant to become the fullest expression of who you are. Main lesson. The invisible race that doesn't exist. Have you ever felt behind in life? Maybe you thought you should already own a house. Maybe you believed you should be earning more money. Perhaps you wondered why friends seemed to find success, love, or purpose before you did. These feelings are incredibly common. But here's something worth remembering. Much of the race we think we're running exists only in our minds. Society often creates invisible timelines. Graduate by this age. Get married by another. Build a successful career before 30. Have everything figured out before 40. But real life rarely follows a perfect schedule. Some people discover their passion early. Others find it decades later. Some businesses succeed quickly. Others take years before gaining momentum. Some relationships begin unexpectedly after years of waiting. Life unfolds differently for everyone. The moment you stop measuring your progress against someone else's timeline, you give yourself permission to grow at your own pace. The highlight reel illusion. Imagine watching a movie that only includes its happiest scenes. You'd never see the challenges that made the victories meaningful. Social media often works exactly like that. People naturally share promotions, celebrations, vacations, and achievements. Few people post about rejection letters, financial stress, arguments, loneliness, fear, or the countless attempts that happened before success finally arrived. Suppose you see someone announcing they've started a thriving business. What you may not see are the 5 years they spent learning, the investments that failed, or the nights they questioned whether they should quit. Without that context, comparison becomes misleading. You're comparing your entire story to one carefully chosen chapter of someone else's. That's like reading page 20 of your own book and comparing it to the final chapter of another. No wonder confidence suffers. The garden analogy. Imagine walking through a beautiful garden. There are roses blooming brilliantly. Nearby stands a tall sunflower reaching toward the sky. In another corner, a young oak tree grows slowly but steadily. None of these plants compete with one another. The rose doesn't wish it were taller. The sunflower doesn't criticize the oak for growing more slowly. Each grows according to its own nature. People are much the same. Some talents develop quickly. Others require years of patience. Some personalities shine in large crowds. Others quietly influence lives one meaningful conversation at a time. Your growth doesn't have to resemble anyone else's to be valuable. Confidence grows when you appreciate your own season instead of envying another person's harvest. A story of two friends. Consider two longtime friends, Alex and Noah. They graduated from university together with similar dreams. Within a few years, Alex built a successful company. Photos of conferences, awards, and international travel fill social media. Meanwhile, Noah worked a steady job while caring for an aging parent. His career advanced slowly. He often felt as though he were falling behind. Years later, their paths looked very different. Alex openly admitted that success had come with overwhelming stress, burnout, and strained relationships. Noah, despite moving more slowly, had developed deep patience, emotional resilience, and close family connections. Eventually, Noah started a small business based on skills he'd quietly developed over many years. It grew steadily. Looking back, he realized he had never truly been behind. He had simply been growing in a different direction. Life isn't a single race with one finish line. It's thousands of unique journeys. The danger of measuring worth by achievement. Achievement feels rewarding. There's nothing wrong with celebrating progress. But problems arise when achievement becomes the only measure of self-worth. Imagine someone who believes, "I'll feel confident once I get promoted." The promotion arrives. For a brief moment, they feel accomplished. Soon another thought appears. Now I need the next promotion. Then, I need a bigger salary. Then, I need more recognition. Confidence built solely on achievement is fragile because the finish line keeps moving. True confidence recognizes that your value doesn't increase only when your accomplishments do. Achievements are wonderful. They reflect what you've done. But your worth comes from who you are, your kindness, your perseverance, your integrity, your willingness to learn. Those qualities remain valuable even on days when nothing extraordinary happens. Celebrate progress, not perfection. Think back to learning how to write. Children don't begin by producing beautiful handwriting. Their first letters are uneven, messy, sometimes almost unreadable. Yet parents celebrate those first attempts. Why? Because progress matters. Somewhere along the way, Many adults forget this lesson. Instead of celebrating improvement, they criticize imperfection. Confidence grows much faster when you notice your progress. Perhaps you're speaking up more often. Maybe you're becoming calmer under pressure. Perhaps you're recovering from setbacks more quickly than before. These changes deserve recognition. Progress isn't always dramatic. Often it's subtle. But subtle progress, repeated consistently, creates extraordinary transformation. Gratitude changes your perspective. Comparison constantly asks, "What do they have that I don't?" Gratitude asks, "What do I already have that deserves appreciation?" These questions lead to completely different emotional experiences. Imagine ending each day by identifying 3 things you handled well. Maybe you stayed patient during a difficult conversation. Maybe you completed an important task. Maybe you simply kept a promise to yourself from chapter 1. Over time, your attention shifts. Instead of searching for reasons you're inadequate, you begin noticing evidence of growth. Gratitude doesn't ignore ambition. It simply reminds you that growth becomes much healthier when appreciation walks alongside it. Define success for yourself. One of the greatest confidence boosters is creating your own definition of success. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to become? Not what career impresses others. Not what lifestyle gains the most attention. Not what society expects. What truly matters to you? Perhaps success means being present for your family. Perhaps it means creating meaningful work. Perhaps it means living with integrity. Perhaps it means becoming healthier, kinder, wiser, or more peaceful. When success reflects your own values instead of someone else's expectations, comparison loses much of its power. You stop chasing approval. You start building a life that genuinely fits you. Reflection. Take a few quiet moments to think about these questions. Whose life do you compare yourself to most often? How does that comparison affect the way you see yourself? What strengths have you overlooked because you've been focused on someone else's achievements? If comparison disappeared completely for one day, what would you choose to work on simply because it mattered to you? Finally, ask yourself, what does success truly look like in my own life? Action step. Today's exercise is called Measure Your Own Growth. Take a notebook or journal. Write down 3 ways you've grown over the past year. They don't have to be dramatic. Perhaps you've become more patient, more responsible, better at communicating, more disciplined, or more willing to try new things. Then write one personal goal based entirely on your own values, not on anyone else's expectations. Place that goal somewhere you'll see it every day this week. Let it remind you that your journey is yours alone. Key takeaways. Comparison shifts your attention away from your own growth. Social media and outward appearances rarely show the full story. Everyone grows at a different pace and follows a unique path. Your worth is based on your character, not just your achievements. Gratitude and personal values help build lasting confidence. Inspirational closing. A tree doesn't become stronger by wishing it were another tree. It becomes stronger by sending its roots deeper into the ground where it was planted. Your confidence grows the same way, not by chasing someone else's life, but by investing in your own. Every lesson you learn, Every challenge you overcome, every quiet step forward becomes part of a story that no one else can live. And that story is already worth more than comparison could ever measure. As you begin focusing on your own journey instead of someone else's, another truth becomes clear. Confidence isn't built by staying where it's comfortable. It grows when you're willing to step into situations that stretch your abilities. In the next chapter, we'll explore why your comfort zone feels so safe, why it quietly limits your potential, and how taking small, courageous risks can expand your confidence in ways you never imagined. Chapter 4. Confidence grows outside your comfort zone. Introduction. Have you ever noticed how comfortable routines can become? You drive the same roads, sit in the same seat, order the same meal, talk to the same people, follow the same daily schedule. There's nothing wrong with routines. In fact, many healthy habits are built through consistency. But there is an important difference between a routine that supports your growth and a comfort zone that quietly keeps you from growing. Most people imagine the comfort zone as a safe place. And in many ways, it is. Inside it, you know what to expect. You know the risks are small. Mistakes are less likely, and uncertainty is limited. But there's a hidden cost. Nothing new can grow if everything always stays the same. Imagine planting a seed, but never allowing it to experience sunlight, wind, or rain. It might remain protected, but it would never become the strong tree it was meant to be. The same is true for confidence. Confidence is not built by avoiding challenges. It is built by meeting them. Not all at once. Not through reckless decisions. But through small, intentional moments of courage that gradually expand what you believe you're capable of. In this chapter, we'll explore why stepping outside your comfort zone feels uncomfortable, why that discomfort is actually a sign of growth, and how you can use small daily challenges to build confidence that lasts. Because every confident person you admire has one thing in common. At some point, they chose courage over comfort. Main lesson. Your brain loves familiarity. Our brains are remarkable. One of their most important jobs is to keep us safe. Thousands of years ago, this instinct helped our ancestors survive dangerous environments. Anything unfamiliar could represent a threat. Although life has changed dramatically, our brains still respond to uncertainty with caution. That's why trying something new can feel surprisingly uncomfortable. Speaking in front of a group, applying for a new job, starting a business, joining a gym, introducing yourself to someone you don't know. Even when these situations aren't dangerous, your brain may react as if they are. Your heart beats faster. Your palms become sweaty. Your thoughts race. You begin imagining everything that could go wrong. These reactions don't necessarily mean you shouldn't move forward. Often, they simply mean you're doing something unfamiliar. Understanding this can change everything. Instead of interpreting discomfort as a warning to stop, you can begin seeing it as evidence that you're growing. The circle that expands. Imagine drawing a small circle on a piece of paper. Inside that circle is everything that feels familiar. Your current skills, your routines, your habits, your everyday experiences. Outside the circle lies everything you haven't experienced yet. new opportunities, new relationships, new abilities, new possibilities. Each time you step just beyond the edge of that circle, something interesting happens. The circle grows. What once felt intimidating slowly becomes normal. Think about driving a car. Most people remember how overwhelming their first driving lesson felt. There were mirrors to check, pedals to manage, traffic signs to remember, and countless decisions to make. It seemed impossible to handle everything at once. Yet after months or years of practice, driving became almost automatic. The road didn't become simpler. You became more capable. Confidence grows exactly this way. Today's challenge becomes tomorrow's routine. Courage comes before confidence. Many people wait until they feel confident before taking action. But life rarely works that way. Imagine standing at the edge of a swimming pool. You tell yourself, "I'll jump in once I stop feeling nervous." You might wait all day. The nervousness usually fades only after you enter the water. Confidence follows action, not the other way around. Think about your own life. Was there something you once believed you could never do? Perhaps your first day at work, your first presentation, your first time traveling alone, your first difficult conversation. You were probably nervous. Yet today, those experiences may seem much less intimidating. Not because fear magically disappeared, because experience replaced uncertainty. That's how confidence grows. A story about a small stage. Several years ago, a local community center organized weekly storytelling nights. Anyone could volunteer to speak for 5 minutes. During one event, a young woman named Rachel signed up. Moments before walking on stage, she considered leaving. Her hands trembled. Her voice felt trapped in her throat. She quietly told herself, "I'm going to embarrass myself." But she remembered something her grandfather once told her. Being brave doesn't mean your knees stop shaking. It means they shake while you keep walking. Rachel walked onto the stage. She stumbled over her opening sentence. She laughed. The audience laughed with her, not at her. She relaxed. By the end of the evening, people applauded warmly. Did she become a professional speaker overnight? Of course not. But something far more valuable happened. She proved to herself that fear didn't have to make her decisions. That single experience gave her the confidence to volunteer again. And again. Months later, speaking in front of people no longer felt impossible. It simply felt normal. One small act of courage had started a chain reaction. Failure isn't the enemy. Many people stay inside their comfort zones because they're trying to avoid failure. But avoiding failure often means avoiding growth. Imagine a child learning to walk. If falling meant they should stop trying, none of us would ever take our first steps. Falling is part of learning. Mistakes are information. They show us what to improve. Unfortunately, adults often treat mistakes very differently. Instead of thinking, we think, "That didn't work. I'm not good enough." Notice the difference. One focuses on the action. The other attacks the person. Confidence grows when you separate your identity from your temporary outcomes. A failed attempt does not mean you are a failure. It simply means you're learning. The power of tiny risks. Stepping outside your comfort zone doesn't require dramatic changes. In fact, the most sustainable growth usually comes from small, manageable challenges. Consider these examples. Start a conversation with someone new. Volunteer one idea during a meeting. Try a new hobby. Visit a place you've never been before. Ask a thoughtful question instead of staying silent. Say yes to an opportunity that feels slightly intimidating. Each action may seem small, but everyone sends an important message to your brain. I can handle more than I thought. Over time, those messages reshape your confidence. Think of confidence as a muscle. You don't build strength by lifting the heaviest weight on your first day. You build it by gradually increasing the challenge. The same principle applies to courage. Small, repeated stretches create lasting growth. The adventure of becoming. Imagine reading a novel where the main character never faced uncertainty. No obstacles. No difficult decisions. No moments of doubt. It wouldn't be much of a story. The most inspiring stories are compelling because the characters grow through challenges. Your life is no different. Every challenge you avoid leaves part of your potential undiscovered. Every challenge you face teaches you something new about yourself. Perhaps you discover resilience you didn't know you had. Perhaps you learn patience. Perhaps you realize you're stronger than fear led you to believe. Growth rarely feels comfortable in the moment. But looking back, you'll often find that your greatest confidence came from experiences you almost avoided. Confidence is built one brave choice at a time. People often imagine confidence arriving in one dramatic moment. But lasting confidence is usually much quieter. It's choosing to raise your hand even when your voice shakes. It's introducing yourself despite feeling nervous. It's submitting the application even when rejection is possible. It's beginning before you feel fully prepared. Every courageous decision becomes another piece of evidence. Another reminder. Another reason to trust yourself. Eventually, you stop asking, "Can I do hard things?" Because you've already answered that question many times. Yes, one small step at a time. Reflection. Take a moment to reflect on these questions. What situation have you been avoiding because it feels uncomfortable? What is the worst realistic outcome if you tried? What is the best possible outcome? And perhaps most importantly, if fear weren't making this decision, what would you choose to do? Remember, growth doesn't require the absence of fear. It requires the willingness to move despite it. Action step. Today's exercise is called the comfort zone stretch. Choose one activity you've been postponing simply because it feels uncomfortable, but not dangerous. Examples include: introduce yourself to someone new. Speak up once during a meeting or conversation. Make a phone call you've been avoiding. Try a new class or skill. Apply for an opportunity you've been hesitating to pursue. Share an idea you've been keeping to yourself. Afterward, write down 3 things. What were you afraid would happen? What actually happened? What did you learn about yourself? You'll likely discover that your fears were far larger than reality. And even if things don't go perfectly, you'll gain something even more valuable: proof that you can handle discomfort. Key takeaways. Your comfort zone feels safe, but lasting confidence grows beyond it. Discomfort is often a sign that you're learning something new. Courage comes before confidence, not after it. Mistakes are part of growth, not proof of inadequacy. Small, consistent acts of bravery expand your confidence over time. Inspirational closing. One day, you'll look back on the challenges that once intimidated you and wonder why they seemed so impossible. Not because they were easy, but because you became stronger. The edge of your comfort zone is not a wall. It's a doorway. Every time you choose to walk through it, you discover a version of yourself that was waiting on the other side all along. That version isn't fearless. It's simply willing to keep moving. And that willingness is where unshakable confidence begins to take root. Stepping beyond your comfort zone teaches you that you're capable of more than you imagined. But even the bravest people encounter setbacks, criticism, and moments when things don't go according to plan. In the next chapter, we'll discover why failure doesn't weaken confidence. It can become one of its greatest teachers, helping you develop resilience that no success alone can provide. Chapter 5. Why failure can become your greatest confidence builder. Chapter Introduction. Imagine watching a toddler learn to walk. They take one uncertain step, then another. A few seconds later, they fall. No one in the room gasps and says, "Well, I guess walking isn't for you." Instead, everyone smiles, encourages them, and waits for the next attempt. Somehow, as we grow older, our perspective changes. Instead of seeing mistakes as part of learning, we begin treating them as proof that we aren't good enough. A failed interview becomes evidence that we're incapable. A rejected application becomes proof that we shouldn't try again. A business setback becomes a reason to abandon a dream. Over time, failure transforms from an event into an identity. But here's an important truth. Failure is never the opposite of confidence. More often, it's the path that leads to it. Think about the most capable people you've ever met. Chances are, their confidence wasn't built because everything went according to plan. It was built because they faced disappointment, adapted, learned, and continued moving forward. Confidence isn't the belief that you'll never fail. It's the belief that failure doesn't have the final word. In this chapter, we'll explore how setbacks can strengthen your character, deepen your resilience, and become some of the most valuable experiences in your journey toward unshakable confidence. Because sometimes, the lessons that shape us most don't come from our victories. They come from what we choose to do after we've fallen. Main lesson: redefining failure. Let's begin with a simple question. What is failure? Most people answer with outcomes. Not getting the job, losing the competition, making a mistake, missing a goal. But those are events. Failure becomes harmful only when we decide those events define who we are. Imagine a scientist working in a laboratory. If every unsuccessful experiment caused them to quit, many important discoveries would never have happened. Instead, each result provides information. It answers one question and raises another. Progress continues because curiosity is stronger than disappointment. Life works much the same way. Every setback contains information. It tells you what worked, what didn't, what needs improvement, and sometimes what direction you were never meant to pursue. Seen through that lens, failure becomes feedback, not a final destination. The difference between falling and staying down. Picture someone hiking up a steep mountain trail. Loose rocks cause them to slip. They scrape a knee and sit down for a moment. Would anyone say the hike is over? Not unless they choose not to get up. The fall wasn't the end. Stopping was. Life presents similar moments. You may experience rejection. You may lose confidence for a while. You may encounter unexpected obstacles. These experiences are part of being human. What matters most isn't whether you fall. It's whether you learn, adjust, and continue climbing. Confidence grows every time you discover that a setback doesn't have the power to stop you unless you give it permission. A story about a missed opportunity. Consider Daniel, who dreamed of becoming a project manager. After months of preparation, he interviewed for a position he wanted badly. He felt optimistic. Days later, he received an email. He hadn't been selected. At first, he replayed the interview over and over. Maybe I'm not leadership material. Maybe I should stop trying. For several weeks, disappointment overshadowed everything else. Then something changed. Instead of deleting the interview notes, he reviewed them. He realized he had answered technical questions well, but struggled to explain how he handled conflict within a team. So, he made a decision. He volunteered to lead small projects at work. He asked experienced managers for advice. He practiced explaining his experiences more clearly. 8 months later, another opportunity appeared. This time, he got the job. When people congratulated him, they saw only the success. They didn't see that the rejection had become his greatest teacher. Without it, he might never have developed the skills that ultimately made him successful. Why confidence without failure is fragile? Imagine building a bridge that has never been tested. It looks impressive. It appears strong. But until it supports real weight, no one truly knows how reliable it is. Confidence works similarly. If your confidence depends only on things going well, it remains untested. The first major setback can shake it. But confidence that has survived disappointment becomes stronger. Why? Because it carries evidence. Evidence that says, I've faced difficult moments before. I've recovered before. I know I can do it again. Resilient confidence isn't built in perfect conditions. It's forged through challenge. The lessons hidden inside setbacks. Every disappointment carries questions worth asking. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Try asking, what can this teach me? Maybe you discover a skill that needs improvement. Maybe you realize your preparation wasn't as thorough as you believed. Maybe you uncover strengths you never knew you possessed. Sometimes failure reveals patience. Sometimes humility. Sometimes determination. Occasionally, it redirects you toward opportunities you never would have considered otherwise. Looking back on life, many people realize that what once felt like devastating setbacks eventually became turning points. Not because the experience was enjoyable, but because it changed them. The weightlifter's secret. Imagine someone entering a gym for the first time. If they lifted only weights that felt effortless, would they become stronger? Of course not. Strength develops by challenging muscles beyond their current capacity. Confidence develops the same way. Every challenge stretches your emotional resilience. Every obstacle teaches adaptability. Every setback strengthens your ability to recover. Growth isn't found in avoiding resistance. It's found in working through it. Learning to separate identity from outcomes. One of the healthiest habits you can develop is separating what you do from who you are. Suppose you give a presentation that doesn't go well. You have two choices. Choice 1. I failed, therefore I am a failure. Choice 2. That presentation wasn't my best. I'll learn from it and improve. Notice the difference. The first statement attacks identity. The second evaluates behavior. Confident people don't ignore mistakes. They simply refuse to let mistakes define them. Your value as a person remains intact, regardless of temporary outcomes. That's a powerful truth to remember. Resilience is quiet. Many people imagine resilience as dramatic courage. In reality, it's often much quieter. It's applying for another opportunity after receiving a rejection. It's returning to practice after performing poorly. It's having another difficult conversation after one didn't go well. It's opening your notebook and trying again after yesterday's progress felt disappointing. These moments rarely receive applause, but they build the kind of confidence that lasts. Because every time you continue, you prove something important to yourself. I am stronger than this temporary setback. Your future self will thank you. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. Think about the challenges you're facing today. Will they still matter exactly as they do now? Some will. Many won't. What will matter most is who you became because of them. The patience you developed. The resilience you strengthened. The wisdom you gained. Those qualities often become the greatest rewards hidden inside failure. Success changes your circumstances. Failure, when approached wisely, changes your character. And character is what supports lasting confidence. Reflection. Take a few quiet moments to consider these questions. What failure or disappointment still affects the way you see yourself? What lesson might be hidden inside that experience? If you viewed that setback as a teacher instead of an enemy, how would your perspective change? Finally, ask yourself, what would I attempt if I trusted that failure was part of learning, not proof of inadequacy? Action step. Today's exercise is called Rewrite the Story. Choose one past failure or disappointment. Write it down in your journal. Then answer these 4 questions. What happened? What did I learn? How has this experience made me stronger or wiser? What one action can I take this week because of what I learned? The goal isn't to erase the past. It's to reclaim the meaning you give it. A difficult chapter doesn't have to become the ending of your story. Key takeaways. Failure is an event, not an identity. Every setback contains valuable lessons if you're willing to learn. Resilient confidence is built through recovery, not perfection. Separate your worth from your temporary outcomes. Every challenge you overcome becomes evidence that you can face future obstacles. Inspirational closing. The strongest trees don't grow in perfect weather. They grow where they've learned to withstand storms. Your confidence develops the same way. Every challenge you've survived has added another ring to the tree of your character. One day, you'll look back at the setbacks that once discouraged you and realize they weren't barriers. They were builders. They quietly shaped the strength you now carry. And that strength can never be taken away because it wasn't handed to you. It was earned. Learning from failure helps you trust that you can recover from life's inevitable setbacks. But confidence isn't built only during difficult moments. It also grows through the quiet routines that shape your everyday life. In the next chapter, we'll explore how small daily habits gradually transform the way you see yourself, and why lasting confidence is less about dramatic breakthroughs and more about the choices you make when no one else is watching. Chapter 6. Small daily habits that build lasting confidence. Chapter Introduction. Imagine trying to fill a large glass one drop at a time. At first, each drop seems insignificant. You can barely notice the water level changing. After a few minutes, it still looks almost empty. But if you keep adding one drop after another, something remarkable happens. Eventually, the glass becomes full. Confidence works in much the same way. Many people search for one life-changing moment that will suddenly make them feel confident. They hope for a promotion, a compliment, a major achievement, or a dramatic breakthrough that changes everything overnight. While those moments can certainly be meaningful, lasting confidence is rarely built that way. It's built quietly. It grows through the choices you make when no one is watching. It develops through ordinary mornings, consistent habits, and small decisions repeated long after the excitement of a new goal has faded. The person who appears naturally confident often isn't relying on motivation. They're relying on routines. They've created habits that consistently reinforce the belief, I'm someone who follows through. In this chapter, we'll explore how daily habits shape your identity, why consistency matters more than intensity, and how simple routines can gradually create the kind of confidence that remains steady even when life becomes unpredictable. Because extraordinary confidence is often the result of remarkably ordinary actions practiced faithfully over time. Main lesson. Your habits become your identity. Think about someone who plays the piano every day. After months or years of practice, people begin to describe them as a pianist. Not because they declared it one day, because their repeated actions made it true. The same principle applies to confidence. If you consistently exercise, you begin seeing yourself as someone who takes care of your health. If you read every day, you begin identifying as someone who values learning. If you keep your commitments, you begin seeing yourself as dependable. Your identity isn't created by what you intend to do. It's created by what you repeatedly do. Every habit quietly answers the question, who am I becoming? That's why confidence isn't something you think your way into. It's something you practice your way into. The compound effect of small choices. Imagine two people. The first decides to improve just 1% every day. The second waits for the perfect opportunity to make one huge transformation. After a week, the second person may appear to have done more. But after a year, the first person's consistent progress becomes extraordinary. Small improvements compound. Just like money earns interest over time, your habits earn confidence over time. Reading 10 pages a day may not seem impressive. Neither does taking a short walk or practicing a skill for 15 minutes. But months later, those small actions create remarkable change. Confidence isn't built by occasional bursts of effort. It's built by quiet consistency. Morning choices shape the day. The first hour of your day often sets the tone for everything that follows. Imagine waking up and immediately reaching for your phone. Within minutes, you're scrolling through news, emails, and social media. Before you've even had breakfast, your attention belongs to everyone else. Now imagine a different morning. You wake up. Take a few deep breaths. Drink a glass of water. Spend 5 minutes in quiet reflection. Read a few pages from an inspiring book. Review your goals for the day. Neither morning is perfect, but one begins intentionally. The other begins reactively. Confidence grows when you begin your day by reminding yourself that you are directing your life, not simply reacting to it. Keeping tiny promises. Remember Chapter 1, where we talked about keeping promises to yourself? Daily habits are simply promises repeated. The secret is making those promises realistic. Many people become discouraged because they create impossible routines. They decide they'll wake up at 5 every morning, exercise for 2 hours, read 3 books a week, completely change their diet, and never procrastinate again. By Wednesday, they're exhausted. Then they conclude, "I don't have enough discipline." The problem wasn't discipline. The problem was trying to change everything at once. Instead, begin small. Read for 10 minutes. Walk around the block. Stretch for 5 minutes. Write 1 paragraph. Meditate for 3 minutes. Tiny habits are easier to maintain. Consistency builds momentum. Momentum builds confidence. The story of the bricklayer. There's an old story about 3 bricklayers working on the same construction site. A traveler asked the first man, "What are you doing?" He replied, "I'm laying bricks." The traveler asked the second man the same question. "I'm building a wall," he answered. Finally, the traveler approached the third man. The man smiled and said, "I'm helping build a cathedral." All 3 were doing the same work. The difference was perspective. Your daily habits are like those bricks. Making your bed. Preparing healthy meals. Reading a few pages. Practicing gratitude. Keeping your word. Each habit may seem ordinary, but together, they're building something extraordinary. The person you're becoming. Every small habit is another brick in the cathedral of your confidence. Confidence loves consistency. Think about a favorite restaurant you've visited many times. Why do you trust it? Probably because it's consistently good. Not perfect every single visit. Just reliable. Confidence develops the same way. Your mind begins trusting you when your actions become reliable. That doesn't mean you will never miss a workout or forget a habit. Life happens. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is returning. Missing one day isn't failure. Quitting entirely is what prevents growth. Whenever you stumble, simply begin again. Every fresh start is another opportunity to strengthen self-trust. Protecting your energy. Confidence isn't only about what you add to your life. It's also about what you remove. Imagine trying to fill a bucket that has holes in the bottom. No matter how much water you pour in, it keeps leaking. Many people unknowingly drain their confidence through habits such as constant comparison. Negative self-talk, too much screen time, chronic procrastination, poor sleep, endless multitasking. These habits quietly steal your focus and energy. Replacing just one of them with a healthier habit can create surprising improvements. Sometimes building confidence isn't about doing more. Sometimes it's about creating space for what matters most. Celebrate small victories. One reason people lose motivation is because they overlook progress. They focus only on the distance left to travel. Imagine climbing a mountain while staring only at the summit. The journey would feel endless. Now imagine occasionally turning around to see how far you've already climbed. Suddenly, your progress becomes visible. Take time to celebrate small victories. Finished your reading goal? Celebrate. Kept your promise for 7 consecutive days? Celebrate. Handled a difficult conversation calmly? Celebrate. These moments deserve recognition, not because you've reached perfection, but because you're becoming stronger. Every celebration reminds your brain, this behavior matters, and behaviors that are rewarded tend to continue. Confidence is built in ordinary moments. Many people assume confidence is created during life's biggest achievements. Graduations, promotions, major accomplishments. But those moments are relatively rare. Most of life is made up of ordinary days, ordinary mornings, ordinary conversations, ordinary choices. The beautiful truth is that these ordinary moments are enough. Every time you choose honesty over excuses, every time you complete a task you wanted to avoid, every time you show kindness despite frustration, every time you continue after a setback, you're strengthening the person you are becoming. Confidence isn't reserved for extraordinary people. It's available to ordinary people who consistently choose intentional actions. One day at a time. Reflection. Take a moment to think about your current daily routine. Which habit strengthens your confidence the most? Which habit quietly weakens it? If you added just one positive habit and removed one negative habit over the next month, how might your life begin to change? Finally, ask yourself, who am I becoming through the habits I practice every day? Action step. Today's exercise is called the Confidence Habit Tracker. Choose 3 simple daily habits that support your confidence. For example, read for 10 minutes. Walk for 15 minutes. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. Create a simple checklist for the next 7 days. At the end of each day, mark whether you completed each habit. Don't worry about perfection. Your goal is to become consistent, not flawless. By the end of the week, you'll have visible proof that confidence grows through repeated action. Key takeaways. Your daily habits shape your identity and self-confidence. Small actions repeated consistently create lasting change. Realistic routines are more powerful than unrealistic goals. Protecting your energy is just as important as building new habits. Confidence is strengthened in ordinary moments, not only during extraordinary achievements. Inspirational closing. A magnificent building is never completed in a single day. It's built one brick at a time. Likewise, the confident person you hope to become isn't created by one extraordinary decision. They're shaped by thousands of ordinary ones. Every habit you practice today is quietly introducing you to the person you'll become tomorrow. Choose those habits wisely, because your future confidence is already being built, one day, one decision, and one small promise at a time. Before we continue, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. If you stayed with me through these first 6 chapters, you've already taken an important step toward building genuine, lasting confidence. I hope you've found ideas that resonate with your own experiences and practical strategies you can begin applying today. If you're enjoying this audiobook and finding it valuable, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to like this video. It helps more people discover these lessons and supports the channel in creating more motivational and personal development audiobooks like this one. If you haven't already, consider subscribing so you won't miss future audiobooks designed to help you grow, learn, and become the best version of yourself. If someone in your life could benefit from these ideas, a friend, family member, co-worker, or anyone who's struggling with self-doubt, please share this audiobook with them. Sometimes one encouraging message arrives at exactly the right time. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's been your biggest takeaway so far? Has one chapter stood out more than the others? Has one lesson challenged the way you think about confidence? Your thoughts may encourage someone else who's listening. Thank you again for being here. Now, let's continue our journey. So far, we've explored how confidence is built through self-trust, healthy self-talk, letting go of comparison, embracing discomfort, learning from failure, and creating consistent daily habits. But there's one challenge that quietly affects nearly everyone: the fear of what other people might think. In Chapter 7, we learn how to stop giving other people's opinions so much power and discover the freedom that comes from living according to your own values rather than seeking constant approval. Chapter 7. Stop letting other people's opinions control your life. Chapter Introduction. Imagine carrying a backpack everywhere you go. At first, it feels light. Then, without noticing, you begin adding things to it. A stranger's criticism, a classmate's opinion, a disappointing comment from a family member, a negative review, an embarrassing memory, a fear of being judged. Over the years, the backpack becomes heavier and heavier. Eventually, you're no longer walking freely. You're walking under the weight of everyone else's expectations. Many people spend years trying to become the version of themselves they believe others will approve of. They choose careers to impress people. They stay silent to avoid criticism. They hide their talents because they fear standing out. They postpone dreams because they're worried someone might laugh. The tragedy is that approval is impossible to keep. Even the most admired people in history have faced criticism. No matter how carefully you live, someone will misunderstand you. Someone will disagree with you. Someone will think you should have made a different decision. If your confidence depends on universal approval, it will always feel fragile. But if your confidence is rooted in your values, your character, and your willingness to grow, then other people's opinions lose much of their power. This chapter isn't about ignoring advice or pretending feedback doesn't matter. Constructive feedback is one of life's greatest teachers. The goal is learning the difference between listening wisely and living for approval. Because the moment you stop asking, "Will everyone like this?" and start asking, is this true to who I want to become? Something remarkable happens. You begin to live with greater freedom, and confidence quietly follows. Main lesson: why we crave approval. From the beginning of human history, belonging has mattered. Our ancestors depended on community for safety, food, and survival. Being accepted wasn't simply pleasant. It was necessary. Although modern life is very different, our brains still value acceptance. That's why criticism can feel surprisingly painful. A negative comment online, a disapproving look, a harsh conversation. Sometimes these moments stay with us far longer than compliments ever do. This doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. The challenge is learning to appreciate connection without allowing the desire for approval to control your choices. There's a big difference between wanting to be liked and needing everyone to like you. One is natural. The other becomes a prison. The impossible mission. Imagine deciding that every person you meet must agree with you. Every conversation must end positively. Every decision must make everyone happy. How exhausting would that be? Now ask yourself, haven't many of us been trying to do exactly that? Think about the last time you made a decision. Perhaps choosing a career, moving to a new city, starting a business, changing your lifestyle. Did everyone agree? Probably not. And that's perfectly normal. People view life through different experiences, values, fears, and priorities. The same decision that seems wise to one person may seem risky to another. You cannot build your life around every opinion you encounter. Eventually, you'll have to choose between pleasing everyone and becoming yourself. Only one of those choices leads to lasting confidence. A story about the painter. There's an old story about a young painter who proudly displayed his artwork in a busy town square. Beside the painting, he placed a sign that read, "If you notice a mistake, please mark it with a small X." When he returned that evening, the canvas was covered with marks. He felt discouraged. Perhaps he wasn't talented after all. An older artist noticed his disappointment and offered some advice. The next day, the young painter displayed another painting. This time, the sign read, "If you notice a mistake, please correct it." At the end of the day, not a single brushstroke had been changed. Many people are quick to criticize. Far fewer are willing or able to contribute something better. The lesson isn't to ignore all criticism. The lesson is to recognize that criticism alone doesn't always reflect wisdom. Before accepting someone's opinion, ask yourself, is this coming from experience, understanding, and genuine care? If not, it may deserve far less attention than you've been giving it. Constructive feedback versus destructive criticism. Not all opinions are equal. Imagine you're learning to play the guitar. Your instructor says, "Your timing is improving. Let's work on smoother chord transitions." That feedback is specific, helpful, focused on growth. Now imagine someone walking by and saying, "You're terrible, just quit." Which comment deserves your attention? The answer seems obvious. Yet many people allow careless criticism to outweigh thoughtful guidance. Confident people learn to sort opinions carefully. They welcome feedback that helps them improve. They release comments that exist only to discourage. Wisdom is knowing the difference. The cost of living for approval. Imagine spending your entire life acting in a play. Every conversation becomes a performance. Every decision is filtered through one question. What will people think? At first, this may earn approval. But eventually, something important happens. You begin losing touch with your authentic self. You stop expressing honest opinions. You hide your creativity. You silence your dreams. You become skilled at fitting in, but uncertain about who you truly are. Confidence cannot flourish where authenticity is absent. Real confidence grows when your actions reflect your values, not simply other people's expectations. Your values become your compass. Imagine sailing across the ocean. Without a compass, every wave pushes you in a different direction. Opinions work much the same way. Without clear values, every criticism changes your course. Every compliment becomes your fuel. Every disagreement shakes your confidence. But when your values are clear, they become your compass. You still listen. You still learn. But you no longer drift aimlessly. Perhaps your values include honesty, kindness, growth, integrity, curiosity, courage. When difficult decisions arise, ask yourself, which choice aligns with my values? Not, which choice guarantees approval? This simple shift creates remarkable freedom. Everyone is busy living their own story. Have you ever replayed an embarrassing moment for days? Perhaps you stumbled over your words during a meeting, forgot someone's name, made a small mistake in public. You may have assumed everyone remembered. In reality, most people were probably thinking about their own concerns, their own responsibilities, their own insecurities. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as the tendency to overestimate how much others notice us. The truth is comforting. Most people are far less focused on your mistakes than you imagine. They're busy managing lives of their own. Realizing this can be incredibly freeing. You don't need to carry the weight of imaginary judgments. A letter to your younger self. Imagine writing a letter to your younger self. Perhaps to the teenager who worried about fitting in, or the young adult afraid of making mistakes. What would you say? Maybe something like, "You don't have to earn everyone's approval to deserve respect. It's okay if some people don't understand your choices. The people who truly matter will value your authenticity more than your perfection." Now imagine receiving that same letter today. Would you believe it? Could you begin living as though those words were true? Because they are. Reflection. Take a quiet moment to think about these questions. Whose opinion affects you the most? Why does that opinion carry so much weight? Have you been making any decisions primarily to avoid criticism? If you trusted your own values more deeply, what choice would you make differently today? Finally, ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to become, even if not everyone understands the journey? Action step. Today's exercise is called the values list. Write down your 5 most important personal values. For example, honesty, kindness, courage, growth, integrity. Next, think of one decision you've been delaying because you're worried about other people's opinions. Now ask yourself, which choice best reflects my values? Take one small action in that direction this week. Let your values, not your fear of criticism, guide your next step. Key takeaways. Wanting approval is natural, but living for approval weakens confidence. Not every opinion deserves equal attention. Constructive feedback helps you grow. Destructive criticism should not define you. Your values provide a stronger foundation than public approval. Most people are thinking about their own lives far more than they are thinking about yours. Inspirational closing. One of the quietest forms of confidence is this: the ability to respect other people's opinions without surrendering your own direction. You don't need everyone to applaud your journey. You only need the courage to keep walking it. When your life is guided by your values instead of your fear, criticism becomes lighter, decisions become clearer, and confidence becomes steadier. Because the goal isn't to become someone everyone approves of. It's to become someone you genuinely respect when you look in the mirror. As you become less dependent on other people's opinions, you'll discover another important truth. Confidence isn't only about how you think. It's also reflected in how you carry yourself every day. In the next chapter, we'll explore how your posture, body language, and everyday actions influence not only how others see you, but also how you see yourself. Sometimes, the smallest physical changes can create powerful shifts in your inner confidence. Chapter 8. How your body language shapes your confidence. Chapter Introduction. Have you ever noticed someone can come into a room with a single word, yet somehow they immediately appear calm, capable, and confident? It isn't always because they're the smartest person there. It isn't because they have the most experience. And it certainly isn't because they never feel nervous. Often, it's because of something much simpler: the way they carry themselves. Their posture is relaxed but upright. Their movements are steady rather than rushed. They make eye contact without staring. They listen carefully before they speak. Their confidence is communicated long before they ever introduce themselves. Now think about the opposite. Imagine someone walking with their shoulders slumped, eyes fixed on the floor, speaking so quietly that people struggle to hear them. That person may be intelligent, kind, and incredibly talented. Yet their body language may unintentionally tell a different story. What's fascinating is that body language doesn't only influence how other people perceive us. It also influences how we perceive ourselves. Your body and your mind are constantly communicating. When your thoughts change, your posture often changes with them. But the opposite is also true. Small physical adjustments can influence your emotional state, your level of confidence, and even the way you approach challenges. This doesn't mean pretending to be someone you're not. It means learning how to align your outward presence with the capable person you're becoming inside. In this chapter, we'll explore how simple changes in posture, movement, breathing, eye contact, and communication can quietly strengthen your confidence every single day. Because sometimes confidence begins with something as simple as standing a little taller. Main lesson: your body is always speaking. Even in complete silence, your body communicates. The way you stand, the way you walk, the expression on your face, the pace of your movements, the direction of your eyes. People naturally notice these signals, often without realizing it. More importantly, your brain notices them too. Imagine spending an entire day looking down at the ground with your shoulders curled forward. Compare that to spending the day standing upright, breathing deeply, and looking ahead. The problems in your life may not change, but your experience of facing them often does. Your posture sends messages into directions, outward to other people, and inward to yourself. The mirror effect. Think about the last time you smiled unexpectedly, perhaps while talking with a close friend, or watching a child laugh. Did you notice how your mood changed, even slightly? Now imagine forcing yourself to smile gently during a stressful moment. It may feel unnatural at first, yet many people discover that their emotions begin shifting. This happens because the relationship between body and mind works both ways. Your emotions influence your body. Your body also influences your emotions. That's why small physical habits can become powerful confidence builders. A story about the job interview. Sophia had spent weeks preparing for an important job interview. She researched the company, practiced common interview questions, reviewed her qualifications. Yet when interview day arrived, she felt overwhelmed. As she waited in the reception area, she noticed an older gentleman reading quietly nearby. Seeing her nervous expression, he smiled kindly and asked, "First interview?" She laughed. "It feels like my first." He nodded. "Can I give you one piece of advice?" She agreed. He said, "Before you walk through that door, stand tall. Relax your shoulders. Take one slow breath. Walk, not too fast, not too slowly. And remember, they're not only interviewing you. You're also deciding whether this opportunity fits your future." Those simple words changed everything. Did her nervousness disappear? Not completely, but her focus shifted. Instead of trying to hide her anxiety, she carried herself with calm intention. She listened carefully. She answered thoughtfully. Weeks later, she was offered the position. Looking back, she realized that her confidence hadn't suddenly appeared. She had simply allowed her body to support the mindset she'd been building. Stand like someone who trusts themselves. Imagine meeting two people. The first stands with crossed arms, avoids eye contact, and constantly shifts their weight. The second stands comfortably, keeps their shoulders relaxed, and maintains natural eye contact. Neither person says a word. Who appears more confident? Most people would choose the second. Here's the encouraging part. Many of these behaviors can be practiced. Try standing with your feet comfortably balanced. Relax your shoulders instead of tightening them. Lift your head naturally. Breathe deeply. You don't need exaggerated gestures. Quiet confidence rarely demands attention. It simply appears steady. Eye contact builds connection. Many people avoid eye contact because they're afraid of being judged. Ironically, avoiding eye contact often increases nervousness. Imagine talking with someone who never looks at you. You may wonder whether they're distracted, uncomfortable, or uninterested. Now imagine someone who maintains warm, natural eye contact while listening. You immediately feel more connected. Good eye contact isn't about staring. It's about showing presence. When someone speaks, truly listen. When you speak, Allow yourself to look at the person you're talking to. If this feels difficult, begin with short conversations. Like every confidence skill, it improves with practice. Slow down. When people feel anxious, they often speed up. They walk faster, speak faster, think faster. Sometimes they even breathe faster without realizing it. Imagine rushing through every sentence because you're afraid of saying the wrong thing. Now imagine slowing down, taking one breath before answering, pausing briefly between ideas, walking at a calm pace, speaking clearly rather than quickly. Slowing down communicates confidence, not only to others, but also to your own nervous system. It tells your brain, there is no emergency. That simple message can dramatically reduce anxiety. Listen more than you speak. Some people mistakenly believe confident people dominate every conversation. In reality, many confident people are excellent listeners. They aren't trying to prove themselves. They're trying to understand. Think about someone you've enjoyed talking with. Chances are they listened carefully, asked thoughtful questions, made you feel heard. Listening is a quiet expression of confidence. It shows you're secure enough not to make every conversation about yourself. Ironically, people often remember good listeners as confident communicators. Dress with intention. Confidence doesn't require expensive clothing. It doesn't depend on fashion trends or designer labels. But the way you care for your appearance can influence how you feel. Imagine wearing clean clothes that fit well. Standing a little taller because you've taken care of yourself. Compare that with wearing something that makes you feel uncomfortable or neglected. The difference isn't vanity. It's self-respect. Taking care of your appearance sends yourself a simple message. I matter. That message supports confidence from the inside out. Your voice matters. Have you ever apologized before expressing an opinion? Maybe you've said, "Sorry, this might be a silly idea." Or, "I'm probably wrong, but..." Many people unintentionally weaken their own message before they've even spoken. Instead, try expressing your thoughts with calm clarity. For example, "I have an idea I'd like to share. Here's another perspective. What do you think about this approach?" You don't need to sound forceful. You simply need to sound like someone who believes their thoughts deserve consideration. Because they do. Confidence is a daily practice. Body language isn't a performance. It's a reflection of self-respect. You don't need perfect posture every second. You don't need constant eye contact. You don't need flawless communication. Instead, think of these as daily practices. Every morning, ask yourself, how do I want to carry myself today? Every conversation becomes another opportunity to practice. Every meeting, every greeting, every challenge. Little by little, your outward presence begins matching your growing inner confidence. And eventually, they reinforce each other. Reflection. Take a quiet moment to consider these questions. When you feel nervous, what changes in your body? Do you avoid eye contact? Speak more quickly? Look down? Cross your arms? Now imagine the version of yourself who feels calm and confident. How do they stand? How do they walk? How do they speak? What one physical habit could you begin practicing today? Action step. Today's exercise is called the 5-minute confidence practice. Before leaving home, or before an important conversation, meeting, or presentation, spend 5 minutes practicing the following. Stand with relaxed, upright posture. Take 5 slow, deep breaths. Smile gently. Practice natural eye contact in the mirror. Say one encouraging sentence aloud, such as, "I don't have to be perfect. I only have to be present." Repeat this routine every day for 1 week. Notice not only how other people respond, but how you begin responding to yourself. Key takeaways. Your body language influences both how others see you and how you see yourself. Small physical changes can create meaningful shifts in confidence. Calm posture, steady breathing, and natural eye contact communicate quiet confidence. Listening well is often a greater sign of confidence than speaking constantly. Confidence is reflected through consistent daily habits, not dramatic performances. Inspirational closing. Confidence isn't always announced with loud words or bold gestures. More often, it's revealed in quiet moments. In the calm way you enter a room. In the patience with which you listen. In the steady voice you use to share your thoughts. In the quiet belief that you belong, not because you've proven yourself to everyone else, but because you've learned to trust yourself. Carry yourself with that quiet confidence, and over time, your presence will speak long before your words ever do. By now, you've begun building confidence from the inside out, through your thoughts, your habits, your values, and even the way you carry yourself. But confidence reaches its deepest level when it is connected to something larger than temporary success or other people's opinions. In the next chapter, we'll explore how discovering your purpose and living with intention creates a confidence that remains steady even when life becomes uncertain. Chapter 9. Confidence grows stronger when you live with purpose. Chapter Introduction. Imagine waking up every morning knowing exactly why you're getting out of bed. Not because your alarm clock tells you to. Not because you have bills to pay. Not because everyone else expects you to. But because your day has meaning. Purpose has a remarkable effect on confidence. When you know why you're doing something, you're far more willing to face discomfort, overcome obstacles, and remain patient during slow progress. Think about a lighthouse standing on a rocky coastline. Storms come. Waves crash against it. Strong winds shake everything around it. Yet the lighthouse remains standing because it wasn't built for calm weather. It was built to guide ships through the storm. Your purpose can become that lighthouse. When criticism comes, purpose reminds you why you started. When failure happens, purpose encourages you to continue. When fear whispers that you should give up, purpose gently says, "Keep going. What you're building matters." Many people search for confidence while overlooking purpose. They chase achievements, recognition, or approval, hoping confidence will eventually follow. But confidence becomes much steadier when it's connected to something meaningful. Because you're no longer asking, "How do I look?" You're asking, "How can I serve?" You're no longer focused only on proving yourself. You're focused on contributing something valuable. And that shift changes everything. In this chapter, we'll explore how purpose strengthens confidence, why meaningful goals outlast temporary motivation, and how discovering your own direction can help you move through life with greater peace, resilience, and conviction. Main lesson: purpose is bigger than motivation. Motivation is wonderful. It gives us energy. It helps us begin. But motivation changes from day to day. Some mornings you wake up excited. Other mornings you feel tired, discouraged, or distracted. Purpose is different. Purpose remains even when motivation disappears. Imagine a parent caring for a young child. They don't wake up every day feeling energized. There are exhausting mornings, sleepless nights, unexpected challenges. Yet they continue because love gives their actions meaning. Purpose works the same way. When your goals are connected to something meaningful, you continue even when enthusiasm fades. Confidence grows because you repeatedly prove that your commitment is stronger than your temporary emotions. Discovering what truly matters. Many people assume purpose arrives suddenly, like a flash of lightning. One dramatic moment. One perfect realization. For most people, it happens much more quietly. Purpose is often discovered through curiosity, through trying new things, through paying attention to what gives you energy. Ask yourself, when do I lose track of time because I'm deeply engaged? What problems do I naturally enjoy solving? What kind of conversations leave me feeling inspired? What values matter so much that I would defend them even if no one applauded me? The answers to these questions can point you toward a meaningful direction. Purpose isn't always about changing the world. Sometimes it's about changing one life. Sometimes it's about becoming the kind of parent, friend, teacher, leader, artist, or neighbor who makes a positive difference. Never underestimate the importance of quiet purpose. Small acts of service often leave the deepest impact. A story about the carpenter. An old carpenter spent decades building homes. One afternoon, his employer told him, "You've worked faithfully for many years. After this final house, you can retire." Feeling tired, the carpenter rushed through the project. He used lower quality materials. He skipped details he would normally take pride in. He simply wanted to finish. When the house was complete, his employer handed him the keys. "This house is my gift to you." The carpenter stood speechless. He realized he had been building his own future all along. Life often works the same way. Every decision you make today is quietly shaping the person you'll become tomorrow. When you live with purpose, even ordinary tasks gain meaning because you're building a future you'll eventually live inside. Stop chasing every opportunity. Imagine standing at a buffet with hundreds of different dishes. If you tried to eat everything, you wouldn't enjoy any of it. Life offers countless opportunities. New hobbies, career paths, projects, commitments, relationships. Saying yes to everything often means giving your best energy to nothing. Purpose gives you permission to choose wisely. Instead of asking, "Can I do this?" you begin asking, "Should I?" Confident people understand that every yes also means saying no to something else. Purpose helps you protect your time, energy, and attention. Service creates quiet confidence. Have you noticed that some of your most meaningful moments happen when you're helping someone else? encouraging a friend, teaching a child, volunteering, listening without interruption, offering kindness to someone who's struggling. During those moments, something interesting happens. You stop worrying so much about yourself. Your attention shifts outward. Ironically, this often reduces anxiety. When your goal becomes serving rather than impressing, confidence grows naturally. You realize you don't need to be perfect. You simply need to be present. Purpose rooted in service creates one of the strongest forms of confidence because it reminds you that your life has value beyond personal achievement. Progress is more important than speed. Imagine planting a fruit tree. Would you dig it up every week to see whether the roots are growing? Of course not. You trust the process. You water it. Protect it. Remain patient. Purpose requires the same patience. Many meaningful goals take years to develop. Learning a profession, building a business, raising a family, mastering a skill, writing a book, becoming a trustworthy leader. Growth often happens beneath the surface long before anyone else notices. Confidence grows when you stop measuring progress only by visible results. Sometimes your greatest progress is invisible. You're becoming more disciplined, more patient, more resilient. Those qualities are preparing you for opportunities you haven't yet imagined. A compass, not a map. Purpose doesn't provide every answer. It rarely tells you exactly what tomorrow will look like. Instead, think of it like a compass. A compass doesn't show every road. It simply points you in the right direction. As long as you keep moving in that direction, you continue making progress. Some days you'll move quickly. Other days you'll take only one small step. Both are valuable. Confidence doesn't require knowing every detail of the journey. It requires trusting that you're moving towards something meaningful. Success becomes more fulfilling. Achievement without purpose often feels surprisingly empty. You reach one goal, celebrate briefly, then immediately search for another. Purpose changes that experience. Your accomplishments become meaningful because they support something greater than your own recognition. Perhaps your career allows you to help others. Perhaps your business creates opportunities for families. Perhaps your creativity encourages people during difficult seasons. Purpose transforms success from something you collect into something you contribute. And contribution creates lasting satisfaction. Reflection. Take a quiet moment to consider these questions. What activities make you feel most alive? What values matter deeply to you? Who benefits when you become the best version of yourself? If fear and comparison disappeared for one day, what meaningful goal would you begin pursuing? Finally, ask yourself, what kind of legacy do I want my daily choices to create? Action step. Today's exercise is called Write Your Personal Mission Statement. Take 10 or 15 minutes with a notebook. Complete these 3 sentences. I want to become someone who. I hope my life will contribute by. Every day, I will move closer to this purpose by. Don't worry about making it perfect. Keep it simple. Keep it honest. Read your mission statement each morning for the next week. Allow it to become your compass whenever life feels uncertain. Key takeaways. Purpose gives confidence, stability even when motivation fades. Meaningful goals are often discovered through curiosity and service. Every daily choice contributes to the future you're building. Purpose helps you focus on what truly matters instead of chasing every opportunity. Confidence grows when your life is guided by contribution rather than approval. Inspirational closing. A river doesn't rush because it doubts where it's going. It simply keeps flowing toward the ocean. Your life doesn't require constant certainty to make meaningful progress. It requires direction. When your actions are rooted in purpose, setbacks become temporary, criticism becomes quieter, and fear loses much of its influence. Because you're no longer wandering aimlessly, you're walking with intention. And a person who walks with purpose rarely needs to prove their confidence. It naturally shines through the way they live. Discovering your purpose gives your confidence a deeper foundation. But even with clear direction, there will be moments when your plans don't unfold the way you expected. In the next chapter, we'll explore one of the most valuable skills for lasting confidence, learning how to adapt, stay flexible, and trust yourself even when life takes an unexpected turn. Chapter 10. Adapt, adjust, and keep moving forward. Chapter Introduction. Imagine you're setting out on a long road trip. You've planned your route carefully. You know where you want to go, how long the journey should take, and what you hope to experience along the way. Then, a few hours into the trip, you encounter a road closure. Your original route is blocked. At that moment, you have a choice. You can sit in your car, frustrated that the map didn't match reality. Or you can take a deep breath, look for another route, and continue toward the same destination. Life is remarkably similar. Very few journeys unfold exactly as we imagine. Jobs change. Relationships evolve. Unexpected opportunities appear. Unexpected losses arrive. Plans succeed. Plans fail. The people with the strongest confidence are not those who avoid change. They are the ones who learn how to adapt without losing sight of who they are. Confidence isn't rigid. It doesn't insist that everything happen according to one perfect plan. Instead, it quietly says, if circumstances change, I'll learn, adjust, and keep moving. That kind of confidence is incredibly freeing. Because instead of fearing uncertainty, you begin trusting your ability to navigate it. In this chapter, we'll explore why adaptability is one of the most valuable confidence skills you can develop, how flexibility helps you grow stronger through change, and why your greatest strength often lies not in controlling life, but in responding wisely to it. Main lesson. Life rarely follows a straight line. Think back over your own life. Did everything happen exactly as you expected? Probably not. Perhaps you imagined a different career, a different city, a different relationship, a different timeline. And yet, despite the unexpected turns, here you are, still learning, still growing, still becoming. Many of life's greatest opportunities arrive disguised as detours. Sometimes a closed door quietly guides you toward a better one. Sometimes a difficult season develops strengths you never would have gained during easier times. Confidence grows when you stop expecting a perfectly straight path. Instead, you begin expecting growth through change. The bamboo lesson. One of the most fascinating plants in nature is bamboo. During strong storms, large trees sometimes snap because they resist the wind. Bamboo behaves differently. It bends. It sways. It gives way just enough to survive the pressure. When the storm passes, it stands upright again. Its flexibility becomes its strength. People often misunderstand confidence in the same way. They assume confidence means never changing your mind, never admitting mistakes, never adjusting your plans. In reality, true confidence often looks like bamboo, strong enough to remain rooted, flexible enough to adapt. Wisdom isn't stubbornness. Wisdom is knowing when to hold firm and when to change course. A story about the unexpected career. Emma dreamed of becoming an architect. She spent years studying, preparing, and working toward that goal. Then an economic downturn reduced hiring opportunities. For months, she felt discouraged. She believed her future had disappeared. While waiting for opportunities to return, she accepted temporary work helping a non-profit organization improve community spaces. There, she discovered something unexpected. She loved working directly with people, listening to families, designing practical solutions, collaborating with volunteers. Years later, she became a leader in community development, a career she had never imagined but deeply loved. Looking back, she realized that her original dream hadn't been wasted. The skills she learned as an architecture student prepared her for work she never would have discovered otherwise. Life hadn't ruined her plans. It had expanded them. The difference between giving up and changing direction. Sometimes people confuse flexibility with quitting. They're not the same. Imagine hiking toward a mountain summit. Halfway up, you discover that a landslide has blocked the trail. Would choosing another safe path mean giving up? Of course not. You're still pursuing the destination. You've simply changed the route. Life works similarly. You may adjust your methods without abandoning your values. You may change careers while remaining committed to meaningful work. You may modify a goal while continuing to grow. Confident people understand that changing direction isn't weakness. Sometimes it's wisdom. Learning instead of resisting. When unexpected challenges appear, our first reaction is often frustration. This wasn't supposed to happen. Why is this happening to me? Those feelings are understandable. But after acknowledging disappointment, another question becomes far more helpful. What is this situation asking me to learn? Perhaps patience. Perhaps creativity. Perhaps resilience. Perhaps humility. Every challenge offers an opportunity to develop qualities that comfortable seasons rarely require. This doesn't mean every difficulty is enjoyable. It means every difficulty has the potential to teach. Control what you can. Imagine trying to control the weather. No matter how much you worry, the rain will still fall. The wind will still blow. Many people spend enormous amounts of energy trying to control things beyond their influence. Other people's opinions, economic conditions, unexpected delays, past mistakes, future uncertainties. Confidence grows when you redirect that energy toward what you can control. Your preparation, your attitude, your effort, your honesty, your willingness to learn, your response. The more attention you give to these things, the calmer you become. Because you're investing your energy where it can actually make a difference. The power of starting again. One of the greatest misunderstandings about confident people is the belief that they always get it right the first time. They don't. They simply become comfortable beginning again. Imagine an artist working on a painting. Sometimes a section doesn't turn out as planned. Instead of throwing away the entire canvas, the artist steps back, makes adjustments, paints another layer, improves the work. Life offers us that same opportunity. Every new day is another blank section of the canvas. You are never required to remain the person you were yesterday. You can apologize, learn, improve, begin again. Starting over isn't evidence of failure. It's evidence that you're still committed to growth. Progress through flexibility. Think of a sailor crossing the ocean. The sailor cannot control the wind, but they can adjust the sails. If the wind changes direction, the sailor changes strategy, not the destination. That's a powerful image for life. Unexpected changes don't always require abandoning your dreams. Often they simply require adjusting your approach. The most successful people aren't always the strongest. They're often the most adaptable. They continue learning, continue improving, continue moving. Confidence grows because they trust themselves to respond wisely, whatever comes next. Reflection. Take a few quiet moments to think about these questions. What unexpected change has challenged you recently? Have you been resisting it or learning from it? What part of this situation can you control? What part must you learn to accept? Finally, ask yourself, if I viewed this challenge as a detour instead of a dead end, what new possibilities might I discover? Action step. Today's exercise is called the circle of control. Draw two circles. Inside the first circle, write everything you can control about a current challenge. For example, my attitude, my preparation, my effort, my response, my willingness to learn. Outside that circle, write everything you cannot control. For example, other people's opinions, the past, unexpected events, the economy, timing. This week, commit to spending your energy only on the inner circle. Whenever worry appears, remind yourself, I'll focus on what I can influence. Key takeaways. Confidence grows through adaptability, not rigid certainty. Unexpected changes often create unexpected opportunities. Flexibility is a strength, not a weakness. Focus your energy on what you can control. Every new day offers another opportunity to learn, adjust, and continue. Inspirational closing. The strongest sailors aren't those who wait for perfect weather. They're the ones who learn how to navigate changing winds. Life will always surprise you. Plans will change. Challenges will appear. New opportunities will emerge where you least expect them. Your confidence doesn't come from controlling every circumstance. It comes from knowing that whatever tomorrow brings, you have the ability to learn, adapt, and keep moving forward. That quiet confidence can carry you farther than certainty ever could. As you learn to adapt to life's changing circumstances, another important realization begins to emerge. Confidence isn't only strengthened by what you achieve or overcome. It also grows through the relationships you choose to build. In the next chapter, we'll explore how the people around you influence your confidence, why supportive relationships matter, and how surrounding yourself with the right influences can help you become the strongest version of yourself. Chapter 11. The people around you shape the confidence within you. Chapter Introduction. Imagine placing a single piece of charcoal into a fire. As long as it remains among the glowing coals, it stays warm and bright. Now remove that same piece and place it alone on a cold stone. Slowly, its glow begins to fade. The charcoal didn't suddenly lose its ability to burn. Its environment changed. In many ways, our confidence develops the same way. The people we spend time with influence our thoughts, our habits, our expectations, and even the way we see ourselves. This doesn't mean your future is determined entirely by those around you. You always have the power to make your own choices. But it does mean that the voices you listen to repeatedly become part of the story you tell yourself. Supportive people remind you of your strengths when you've forgotten them. They celebrate your progress without feeling threatened by it. They tell you the truth with kindness. They encourage you to keep growing while also accepting you where you are. On the other hand, constant negativity, unhealthy comparison, criticism without compassion, or relationships built on control can quietly erode even the strongest confidence. This chapter isn't about judging people or walking away from everyone who disagrees with you. Healthy relationships include honesty, accountability, and difficult conversations. Instead, it's about learning to recognize the difference between relationships that help you grow and relationships that keep you from becoming the person you're capable of becoming. Because confidence grows faster when it is nurtured in an environment of encouragement, respect, and genuine care. Main lesson. We become like what we repeatedly experience. Think about learning a new language. If you're surrounded every day by people speaking that language, you naturally begin picking up words, phrases, and pronunciation. The same thing happens emotionally. If you're constantly surrounded by people who complain, criticize, and expect the worst, those habits slowly begin to feel normal. If you're surrounded by people who value growth, responsibility, gratitude, and encouragement, those attitudes gradually influence your own. This doesn't happen overnight. It's subtle, quiet, almost invisible. But over time, your environment becomes one of your greatest teachers. That's why choosing your influences wisely is one of the simplest ways to strengthen your confidence. The garden principle. Imagine planting a beautiful garden. You carefully choose healthy seeds. You water them regularly. You provide sunlight. But you never remove the weeds. What happens? Eventually, the weeds compete for water, sunlight, and nutrients. They don't destroy the flowers immediately. They slowly limit their growth. Negative influences often work the same way. Constant criticism, endless pessimism, people who mock your dreams, relationships built on manipulation or disrespect. These experiences don't always damage confidence overnight. Instead, they quietly consume the emotional energy that confidence needs to grow. Just as a gardener protects healthy plants, you must learn to protect your peace. A story about to walk places. Consider two employees with similar abilities. The first joins a workplace where co-workers encourage one another. They share ideas, celebrate improvements, offer constructive feedback. Mistakes become opportunities to learn. The second employee works in an environment filled with blame, gossip, and constant competition. Every mistake becomes public. Every success creates jealousy. Every conversation feels tense. After several years, which employee is more likely to believe in their abilities? Talent may have started equally. Environment gradually changed the outcome. This doesn't mean you must leave every difficult situation immediately. Sometimes that's impossible. But it does remind us that creating supportive influences outside difficult environments becomes even more important. Choose encouragement over comparison. Healthy relationships inspire growth without creating unhealthy competition. Imagine telling a close friend about an exciting opportunity. A supportive friend says, "I'm proud of you. How can I help?" Someone driven by comparison might respond differently. "Must be nice. I could have done that too." Or they immediately shift the conversation back to themselves. Pay attention to how people respond to your growth. The people who genuinely celebrate your progress are often the ones worth keeping close. Likewise, become that kind of person for others. Confidence multiplies when encouragement flows in both directions. Accept honest feedback. It's important to remember that supportive people don't always tell you what you want to hear. Sometimes they tell you what you need to hear. Imagine training for a marathon. A caring coach notices your running form could cause an injury. They correct you. The correction may feel uncomfortable, but it's motivated by care. Contrast that with someone who simply criticizes without offering guidance. The difference lies in intention. Healthy feedback builds you. Harsh criticism tears you down. Learn to appreciate people who challenge you with kindness and respect. Those relationships are gifts. Be careful who gets a front row seat. Not everyone deserves equal influence over your life. Imagine your life as a theater. Many people will pass through the audience. Some stay briefly. Others remain for years. But only a few deserve seats in the very front row. Those are the people whose opinions carry the greatest weight. Choose them carefully. Let your front row be filled with people who are honest, people who encourage growth, people who celebrate integrity more than appearance, people who remind you who you are when you've forgotten. Their influence becomes part of your foundation. Become the friend you need. Sometimes people spend years searching for encouraging relationships while forgetting one important question. Am I becoming the kind of person I hope to find? Confidence grows when you encourage others sincerely, when you keep your promises, when you celebrate someone else's success, when you listen without interrupting, when you offer hope instead of criticism. The beautiful thing about encouragement is that it rarely stops with one person. It spreads. Your confidence strengthens because you're living according to the very values you admire. Create healthy boundaries. Boundaries are often misunderstood. Some people think boundaries are walls that push everyone away. Healthy boundaries are more like doors with locks. They allow healthy relationships in. They protect you from unhealthy behavior. Creating boundaries may mean saying no without guilt, limiting time with consistently negative influences, choosing not to engage in harmful gossip, protecting time for rest and personal growth, speaking honestly when someone repeatedly disrespects you. Boundaries aren't signs of selfishness. They're signs of self-respect. And self-respect is one of confidence's strongest foundations. The legacy of encouragement. Think back to someone who believed in you. Perhaps it was a teacher, a grandparent, a coach, a friend. Maybe they spoke only a few encouraging words. Yet those words stayed with you for years. Never underestimate your ability to become that person for someone else. Sometimes confidence grows because someone else saw potential before we could see it ourselves. One encouraging conversation may change the direction of someone's life, including your own. Reflection. Take a quiet moment to consider these questions. Who encourages you to become a better person? Who consistently drains your energy or confidence? What kind of influence are you becoming in other people's lives? If someone described your presence, would they say they feel stronger after spending time with you? Finally, ask yourself, what one relationship deserves more attention, and what one unhealthy influence may need healthier boundaries? Action step. Today's exercise is called your confidence circle. Draw 3 circles. Circle 1, your core support. Write the names of people who consistently encourage your growth, challenge you with kindness, and celebrate your progress. Circle 2, positive influences. Write books, podcasts, communities, mentors, or activities that inspire you to grow. Circle 3, energy drainers. Without judging anyone, identify habits, environments, or relationships that regularly leave you discouraged, anxious, or emotionally exhausted. Now choose one action. Spend meaningful time with someone from Circle 1. Learn something from a positive influence in Circle 2. Create one healthy boundary with something from Circle 3. Small changes in your environment can create lasting changes in your confidence. Key takeaways. Your environment quietly shapes your confidence over time. Supportive relationships encourage growth rather than comparison. Honest feedback is valuable when it's offered with care. Healthy boundaries protect your emotional well-being. Becoming an encouraging person strengthens both your confidence and the confidence of others. Inspirational closing. A single candle can light another without losing any of its own flame. Confidence works much the same way. When you're surrounded by people who encourage growth, hope, and integrity, your own confidence becomes brighter. And as your confidence grows, you gain the opportunity to light the way for others. Choose your companions wisely. Become someone who leaves people stronger than you found them. Because the confidence you build doesn't have to end with you. It can become a gift that inspires countless others. Throughout this audiobook, we've explored the building blocks of lasting confidence, from trusting yourself and embracing discomfort to discovering purpose and surrounding yourself with positive influences. Now it's time to bring everything together. In our final chapter, we'll discover what it truly means to build unshakable confidence, the kind that isn't dependent on perfect circumstances, constant success, or other people's approval, but is rooted in character, resilience, and the daily choice to keep becoming the person you were created to be. Chapter 12. Becoming the kind of person nothing can easily shake. Chapter Introduction. Imagine standing at the base of a mountain you've spent months climbing. You look back over the winding trails, the steep hills, the unexpected storms, and the moments when you questioned whether you could continue. Then you realize something important. The mountain didn't simply test your strength. It revealed it. Confidence works in much the same way. At the beginning of this audiobook, confidence may have seemed like something you needed to find. Now, after everything we've explored together, perhaps you see it differently. Confidence isn't hidden somewhere waiting to be discovered. It is built, patiently, quietly, one decision at a time, one promise kept, one fear faced, one lesson learned, one ordinary day lived with intention. Unshakable confidence doesn't mean you'll never feel afraid. It doesn't mean you'll never experience disappointment, uncertainty, or failure. Instead, it means you've developed something deeper than temporary emotions. You've built trust in yourself. You've learned that setbacks don't define you. You've discovered that growth matters more than perfection. You've realized that confidence is less about always having the answers and more about believing you'll learn whatever comes next. This final chapter is about bringing all of those lessons together into one lasting mindset, one that you can carry with you long after this audiobook ends. Because the greatest achievement isn't finishing this audiobook. It's becoming the kind of person who continues applying these lessons every day. Main lesson. Confidence is a way of living. Many people think confidence is a feeling. But feelings come and go. Some mornings you'll wake up energized. Other mornings you'll feel uncertain. If confidence depends only on emotion, it will always rise and fall. Instead, think of confidence as a way of living. It's choosing honesty even when it's difficult, keeping promises to yourself, treating people with respect, continuing after disappointment, learning instead of making excuses, living according to your values. These choices slowly become your character, and character creates confidence that emotions alone never can. The tree with deep roots. Imagine two trees growing side by side. The first grows quickly. Its branches stretch high into the sky, but its roots remain shallow. The second grows more slowly. Much of its energy goes beneath the surface. Its roots spread deep into the ground. When a powerful storm arrives, which tree survives? Usually, it's the one with deeper roots. People often admire visible success, awards, titles, recognition, achievements. Those things are wonderful, but they are branches. Your roots are your integrity, your resilience, your habits, your kindness, your discipline, your purpose. When your roots grow deep, life's storms may bend you, but they won't easily break you. That's unshakable confidence. Your story is still being written. Imagine reading only the middle chapter of a novel. The characters face challenges. The outcome is uncertain. If you stopped reading there, you might assume the story ends in disappointment. Life is similar. Many people judge their future based on one difficult chapter. A failed relationship, a lost opportunity, a season of self-doubt, a painful mistake. But your story isn't finished. Every new decision becomes another page. Every lesson becomes another chapter. Confidence grows when you stop treating temporary seasons as permanent identities. You are always becoming. A story about the potter. A potter carefully shaped a beautiful clay vase. As it dried, a small crack appeared. Someone watching assumed the vase had been ruined. The potter smiled gently. Instead of throwing it away, they carefully repaired the crack and continued shaping the piece. When it was finally finished, the repaired vase became one of the strongest and most beautiful creations in the workshop. Life often feels like that. We notice our cracks, our mistakes, our weaknesses, our disappointments. But wisdom reminds us that broken places don't always end the story. Sometimes they become the places where strength is developed. Not because life was easy, but because we chose to keep growing. Confidence is built through daily choices. Throughout this audiobook, one message has quietly appeared again and again. Small choices matter. The conversation you choose to have, the habit you decide to practice, the fear you choose to face, the promise you keep, the kindness you offer, the lesson you learn, the gratitude you express. No single action transforms your life overnight, but together they shape your future. Think of confidence like a savings account. Every healthy choice is a small deposit. Every challenge you overcome adds another deposit. Over months and years, those deposits create something remarkably strong. One day you'll face a difficult moment and realize, I've prepared for this without even noticing. That's the quiet power of consistency. Success isn't the final goal. Many people spend years believing confidence will arrive after the next achievement, the next promotion, the next degree, the next accomplishment. But life has a way of moving the finish line. You reach one goal, then immediately create another. If confidence always waits for tomorrow, it never fully arrives. Instead, allow yourself to appreciate who you're becoming today. Celebrate growth. Celebrate courage. Celebrate honesty. Celebrate perseverance. Those qualities remain valuable regardless of your circumstances. Achievements come and go. Character stays with you. Leave every place better than you found it. One of the greatest signs of confidence is generosity. Confident people don't constantly compete for attention. They encourage others, share knowledge, celebrate success, offer hope. Imagine walking into every room asking, how can I make this place a little better? Perhaps through kindness, patience, listening, encouragement, integrity. When your confidence begins serving others instead of proving yourself, it becomes remarkably peaceful. You stop asking, am I enough? And begin asking, how can I contribute? That shift changes not only your life, but the lives of those around you. Your future begins today. Imagine meeting yourself 1 year from now. What would that version of you thank today's version for? Perhaps for beginning that difficult conversation, for starting healthier habits, for believing in yourself again, for refusing to quit, for continuing despite fear. The future isn't created all at once. It's built through today's choices. The beautiful truth is that you don't need to have everything figured out before you move forward. You only need to take the next faithful step. Again, and again, and again. Reflection. Before we finish this audiobook, take a few quiet moments with these questions. Which lesson from this journey has impacted you the most? How has your understanding of confidence changed? What fear are you now more willing to face? What habit will you continue practicing? Who will benefit because you choose to become a more confident, compassionate, and resilient person? Finally, ask yourself, if I consistently lived everything I've learned in this audiobook for the next year, how different could my life become? Take a moment to imagine that future. Then remember, it begins today. Action step. Today's exercise is called Write a Letter to Your Future Self. Find a quiet place and write a letter dated 1 year from today. Include the kind of person you hope to become, the habits you'll continue building, the fears you'll no longer allow to control you, the values you'll protect, the difference you hope to make in other people's lives. When you're finished, place the letter somewhere safe. Read it again 1 year from now. Let it remind you that confidence is not built in one extraordinary moment. It is built through the ordinary choices you make every single day. Key takeaways. Unshakable confidence is built through character, not perfection. Deep roots of integrity, resilience, and purpose create lasting strength. Your story is still being written, regardless of past setbacks. Daily choices shape your future more than occasional breakthroughs. True confidence grows stronger when it is used to encourage and serve others. Inspirational closing. The strongest confidence is quiet. It doesn't need constant applause. It doesn't demand recognition. It doesn't disappear when life becomes difficult. It simply continues, step after step, choice after choice, day after day. Remember this. You don't become confident because life finally becomes easy. You become confident because you've learned that whatever life brings, you are capable of learning, adapting, growing, and moving forward with integrity. That is unshakable confidence. And beginning today, it is yours to continue building. You've reached the end of the 12 chapters, but this is not the end of your journey. In the final sections, we'll reflect on everything you've learned, bring the key lessons together, and create a practical plan to help you turn these ideas into lasting habits that can strengthen your confidence for years to come. Final reflection. Take a slow, deep breath. Pause for just a moment. Think back to where you were when you first pressed play on this audiobook. Perhaps you were searching for more confidence. Perhaps you were feeling uncertain about a decision. Maybe you were tired of doubting yourself, comparing yourself to others, or waiting for the right time to finally believe in your own abilities. Wherever you started, you've now completed a journey through 12 chapters of practical lessons, honest reflection, and meaningful growth. More importantly, you've invested something incredibly valuable, your time. Time is one of the few resources we can never get back. The fact that you chose to spend these hours investing in yourself says something important about you. It says that somewhere inside you, there is already a person who believes life can be better. A person who wants to grow. A person who refuses to settle for becoming less than they are capable of becoming. That person deserves your trust. As you reflect on everything you've heard, remember that confidence is not measured by how fearless you feel today. It's measured by the choices you continue making tomorrow. A year from now, imagine waking up with the habits you've committed to. Imagine speaking to yourself with greater kindness. Imagine facing challenges without immediately assuming defeat. Imagine walking into difficult situations with steady posture, calm breathing, and quiet self-belief. Imagine making decisions based on your values instead of your fears. Imagine surrounding yourself with people who encourage growth and becoming that source of encouragement for others. Picture yourself looking back at this very day and realizing that this audiobook wasn't the moment you became perfect. It was the moment you chose a new direction. That is how real transformation happens. Not through one dramatic breakthrough, but through thousands of ordinary moments where you decide to act differently than you did before. There will still be difficult days. There will still be moments of uncertainty. You will still make mistakes. You will still encounter disappointment. But now you know something you may not have fully believed before. You know that difficult moments do not erase your progress. You know that failure can become a teacher. You know that discomfort often points toward growth. You know that your habits shape your identity. You know that your values matter more than public approval. You know that purpose provides direction. You know that your environment influences your confidence. And most importantly, you know that confidence is something you build every single day. Keep returning to these lessons, not because you'll remember every word, but because you'll remember the way they invited you to think differently about yourself. And that new perspective can change everything. Complete audiobook summary. Let's take one final journey through everything we've learned together. Chapter 1. Confidence begins with self-trust. We discovered that confidence is built by keeping promises to yourself. Every small commitment you honor strengthens the belief that you can rely on yourself. Chapter 2. Silence the inner critic. We learned that our inner dialogue shapes our confidence. Replacing harsh self-judgment with honest, encouraging self-talk creates a healthier foundation for growth. Chapter 3. Stop comparing your journey. Comparison steals joy and weakens confidence. Your path is unique, and lasting confidence grows when you measure progress against who you were yesterday, not against someone else. Chapter 4. Courage comes before confidence. We explored the truth that confidence often follows action. By stepping outside your comfort zone, you gradually teach yourself that you can handle more than you once believed. Chapter 5. Let failure become your teacher. Failure isn't your identity. It's valuable feedback. Every setback carries lessons that can strengthen your resilience, wisdom, and confidence if you're willing to learn from it. Chapter 6. Build confidence through daily habits. Small, consistent actions create lasting transformation. Your habits quietly shape your identity, and over time they become the foundation of genuine self-confidence. Chapter 7. Live by your values, not other people's opinions. Seeking constant approval keeps confidence fragile. Living according to your values gives you the freedom to make decisions with integrity and peace. Chapter 8. Carry yourself with quiet confidence. Your posture, breathing, eye contact, and communication influence both how others perceive you and how you perceive yourself. Small physical habits reinforce inner confidence. Chapter 9. Find purpose that guides your life. Purpose provides direction when motivation fades. Confidence grows stronger when your actions are connected to something meaningful beyond temporary success. Chapter 10. Adapt without losing yourself. Life rarely follows a perfect plan. Flexibility, resilience, and focusing on what you can control allow confidence to remain steady during uncertainty. Chapter 11. Choose relationships that help you grow. Your environment matters. Encouraging relationships, healthy boundaries, and becoming a positive influence strengthen your confidence and enrich your life. Chapter 12. Build character that cannot be easily shaken. True confidence is rooted in integrity, resilience, consistent habits, and purposeful living. It's not something you achieve once. It's something you continue building every day. Together, these 12 lessons form one powerful truth. Unshakable confidence isn't created by extraordinary talent or perfect circumstances. It is built through ordinary decisions made consistently over time. 7-Day Success Challenge. The best way to remember these lessons is to live them. Here's a simple 7-day challenge to help you begin. Day 1. Keep one promise to yourself. Choose one small commitment and complete it before the day ends. It could be reading for 10 minutes, taking a walk, organizing your workspace, or finishing a task you've been avoiding. Your goal is simple. Build self-trust. Day 2. Change your self-talk. Pay attention to your inner voice throughout the day. Every time you notice a harsh or discouraging thought, replace it with a realistic and encouraging one. Practice becoming your own supportive coach. Day 3. Do one thing that feels slightly uncomfortable. Have the conversation. Ask the question. Share the idea. Volunteer. Apply for the opportunity. Choose growth over comfort. Day 4. Practice intentional presence. Stand a little taller. Make natural eye contact. Slow your breathing. Listen carefully. Carry yourself with quiet confidence throughout the day. Day 5. Encourage someone else. Send a thoughtful message. Thank a co-worker. Compliment someone's effort. Support a friend. Remember that confidence grows stronger when it is shared. Day 6. Review your purpose. Read your personal mission statement. Spend a few quiet minutes reflecting on whether your daily actions align with the person you hope to become. Adjust one habit if necessary. Day 7. Celebrate progress. Instead of focusing on what's left to accomplish, write down 7 ways you've grown recently. Celebrate consistency. Celebrate courage. Celebrate every step forward. Then choose one habit from this challenge to continue practicing next week. Growth continues long after 7 days. Motivational closing. As we come to the end of this audiobook, I'd like to leave you with one final thought. Confidence is not reserved for a fortunate few. It is not something you are born with or forever denied. It is something you practice. Every honest conversation, every promise you keep, every mistake you learn from, every act of courage, every decision to begin again. These moments may seem small on their own, but together they shape a life of quiet strength. There will be days when confidence comes easily. There will also be days when it feels distant. On those difficult days, Don't wait to feel confident before taking action. Take the next right step. Action often awakens the confidence that emotion cannot provide. Remember that growth is rarely dramatic. It is usually slow, steady, and almost invisible while it is happening. Trust that process. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate progress without demanding perfection. And whenever life tests you, remember everything you've learned on this journey. You have the ability to learn. You have the ability to adapt. You have the ability to recover. Most importantly, you have the ability to continue. That is the heart of unshakable confidence. Final call to action. If this audiobook has encouraged you or given you practical ideas that you can apply in your own life, I'd like to sincerely thank you for spending this time with me. If you enjoyed this journey, please like this video. It helps others discover these lessons and supports the growth of this channel. If you'd like more motivational and personal development audiobooks, subscribe so you won't miss future releases. If someone came to mind while you were listening, a friend, family member, co-worker, or anyone who could benefit from these ideas, please share this audiobook with them. Your recommendation could be the encouragement they need today. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share your biggest insight or your favorite lesson from this audiobook. Your experience may inspire someone else to take their first step toward lasting confidence. Thank you again for being here. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Whether you listen to this audiobook during your morning routine, while commuting, exercising, relaxing, or winding down at the end of the day, we're grateful that you chose to invest these moments in your personal growth. Remember, meaningful change doesn't happen all at once. It happens one choice, one habit, and one day at a time. Keep learning. Keep growing. Keep believing in the person you're becoming. We look forward to sharing another inspiring audiobook with you soon. Until next time, take care of yourself, keep moving forward, and never stop becoming the best version of who you can be. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next audiobook. The end.